The following program deals with a controversial subject. The theories expressed are not the only possible interpretation.
The viewer is invited to make a judgment based on all available information.
The top talents in the comic book business are here to tell everything they know.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Industry of Comics, and we're just going to get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Mendoza, that zombie Tramp guy, joins us for episode 15 of the Industry of Comics. How you doing, Dan?
What's up, guys? Doing good.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. Jesse, Dennis, of course, the longtime LCS in the trench industry guys that make this show possible. How you guys doing?
I'm doing great. Good. We're waiting for we have a special guest tonight. Dennis is bringing in George Buck Flowers.
Well, considering I think he died like 10 years ago. But
yeah. Wow, if you guys could just hear what we talk about before the show, has nothing to do with comics. It's just hilarious how we talk, right? But yeah, this is going to be a great show.
Yeah, so to let people know who Buck Flowers is, because since we brought it up,
yeah,
he's the bum in Back to the Future.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Yeah,
he's the famous. He's like Hollywood's famous bum, and he did stuff in everything.
He was in the fog.
Yeah,
It says
dude,
in
he
the
was in.
fight.
He's basically one of those guys that is like your good luck charm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
This guy?
I can't see. Is it?
You got
is
it
it
on green
everybody?
screen. Got it on green screen.
Oh,
right
sorry.
now.
Sorry. My
Yep.
apologies.
Yep.
This guy?
Yep.
Okay, go
Yeah.
over.
No. If you scroll down, that's him right there. The old pudgier face guy. If you go down a
right
little
in the
bit,
middle. But he was in They Live. He cleaned
Yeah.
up for They Live. He's the bum at the
scroll
beginning.
down right
He
there.
sells out.
That's from Back to the Future right
Right.
there.
Yeah. He's like the world famous Hollywood bum. And I loved everything he did, but he actually did a B movie, Skinamax movie, and I've never been able to find it anywhere in like print. And he's amazing in it. Yeah, like you're watching this, you're a teenager watching Skinamax, and you're like, that's the bum from Back to the Future.
Was he performing in this, or was he just a side character?
He was just a character actor.
Okay, good. Good.
Yeah. No, he wasn't doing. No, it was not like bum sex. It was just like,
Ladies and gentlemen, let's just get into it right away.
Yeah.
yeah.
Most valuable commodity I know of is information. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I agree
Yep.
100%. And you're right. We
All
might
right.
as well just get right into it.
So we're gonna get right into this also, because fuck this. I've got you here. I've got Jesse here. I want you to answer me 3 questions, Dan Mendoza.
I'll try.
First up, who are the 2 biggest retailers that supported Zombie Tramp early on?
Dennis Barger. I think Jesse James. Those 2 guys.
Okay. Which one was first?
Oh man,
Yeah. It's okay. It's
I
okay.
don't know
Dennis-
because I knew Jesse James first.
Yeah.
So that's I would hear about that.
Oh,
first.
there you go.
But,
Yeah.
and I met you, Dennis, later.
Yep.
But as I hear it, I would
Yeah.
say like on the East Coast side.
Right. Okay,
Dennis
so
Barger
the
was
third
first.
question, and most arguably important,
Yeah.
which one of the 2 of our employees was your best hand seller of Zombie Tramp?
Yeah, Trish.
Yeah.
Trish runs the Zombie Tramp, the Wonderful World of Zombie Tramp Facebook fan club today.
And
still.
if you notice, by the way, and this is a little secret tip for everybody, the Wonderful World of Zombie Tramp is wonderful because it came from Wonder World Comics,
Wonder
and
World
we designed that page.
That's awesome, man.
Shout out to Trish. I hope she's
Yeah.
watching. She liked it when I posted that we were doing this. So
Is this it right here? Let's take a look. Yep.
Yep,
Let's
there it is,
join that
man.
group. There we go.
with the Wonder World Zombie Tramp 50 variant as the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy because as comic book store owners, a lot of comic book store owners across the nation have, I don't know what the best way to say it without getting myself in trouble. They look at every order and they say, oh, I can't carry this, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember when Zombie Tramp first came out and people were seeing it on the shelf, and I would, we'd put it on the shelf and do whatever. And I'd walk into a store and it'd be behind the counter or have a board in front of it. Or you ask them and, oh, we can't carry that. I'm like, but have you actually opened it up to
well,
actually
we talked about,
read
well,
it?
there's a lot of facets to it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what made me jump into Zombie Tramp. We got Trish as an employee because of us doing Zombie Tramp. I think we met Trish in October of 2014. When did Zombie Tramp come out?
Self-published 2009. So, but I think the first time I went to Diamond was in a small ashcan size kind of trade, like
Right.
a manga size, and that was 2010 or something like that. And then
So we had been carrying it for quite some
and
time.
Tank Train of Terror, which was the second volume, came out with Action Lab, I think in 2013, 2000, around there. And then it became a monthly series in 2014. Yeah.
It's really important for people to realize. We've talked about it here on the show, and we've talked about it at every level. And this is kind of one of the important things about this industry show. For retailers to have the disposable fuck you money to sink money into something called Zombie Tramp right off get. Yeah. You have to either know the person, like Jesse, like, oh, that's Dan. I didn't know Dan from anybody at that time. Or you have to try everything, which is, pretty difficult these days, or back in those days even. Yeah. But you have to make the money off the regular books, the Marvels and the DCs, to have that kind of fuck you, I'm going to try this, money. Yeah. And for every one of those things, like, can you remember when you were first starting out, Dan, how you positioned yourself into getting retailers to spend that fuck you money?
It was kind of hard, man. Like, I couldn't. Everywhere I lived, I lived in Long Beach, California for a long time, and that's where I started drawing Zombie Tramp, and it was like no store around that area would carry it. I would never be invited to Free Comic Book Day. Like, it was just like a little thing like that. We would always go into shops, like, whenever we're someplace new, and just kind of walk in and ask if they had carried Zombie Tramp, and they're like, we don't carry that kind of stuff, and it seemed it was just weird. Like, any place that started carrying Zombie Tramp, it was like a state that I've never been to and stuff like that. But yeah, it was. I would show them the previous catalog, the store manager, and tell them about the story and all that stuff, and they're okay, but they never order it. So
yeah. I one of the things, I guess the first question we should find out is, how was Zombie Tramp created? What idea popped into your head to create?
For Zombie Tramp, it was I went to animation school in California, California Institute of the Arts, and then I graduated and I started working for like IFC channel and MTV and stuff, and then I quickly decided I don't like to work with people. So I kind of like, I was just like, okay, I was just like, well, so I just got a regular job, and then I was like, I got to do something with this art career. So I was just kind of like, well, maybe I'll get back into comic books, because I always used to make comics but never finish them. And then so I go into the comic store to look for inspiration, and I realized that I don't like anything in there. I think I was done with superheroes, all that. So I just kind of like, well, I'm going to make a comic book that is just a portfolio piece that I could send to studios to see if I can just get work. But I might as well just make it about all the things I love, which is like exploitation movies, grindhouse stuff, Japanese, like Tokyo Shock cinema stuff, and, and horror movies. So I'm just like, well, if I'm going to give it that kind of grindhouse kind of feel, it has to have a stupid name. So I called it Zombie Tramp.
So back to Skinamax historian Dennis Barger. I mean, honestly, how much Frankenhooker is there in Zombie Tramp?
Not even hardly at all. Like, the thing is like Zombie Tramp, like, we started off where she was a high priced call girl in Hollywood, and it was all because of back then the whole Heidi Fleiss thing, and that's what I kind of mapped it after. And but at no point did she, in this whole series up to date of was it the 15 years we've been doing it, is like, has she ever turned one trick? It's
that's all in her rearview mirror, man.
Yeah, it's all in her rearview mirror, man. So it's kind of like, so she's gone along, taking out her pimp and getting into things, and like a lot of flashbacks of how horrible her life really was. But it's just, it's nothing like Frankenhooker at all. But yeah.
So your first couple years was self-published?
Yeah.
And you did them in a ashcan form?
No, we did full comic book size, but
there was four. Was it 4 issues of the self-published?
It was 3 single issues, and then we never made. It was 3 single issues, but we did 2 single issues, and then we never made the third. We went straight into a trade, And at the time, that's all I could afford was to make it kind of like, digest size.
Right. Okay.
And
sure.
then I, at the time, I was friends with a guy. He said he could help me get a barcode to get it into Diamond. And then so that's what we did. And
while we're on this road, just so Brian will get it out of his fucking system, what was your first published work?
I think I've asked Dan that already. But Dan,
it's weird. It's a cross between two things. It had always been in the back of Savage Dragon. I forgot which issue where he had that contest.
Yep. Issue number 3 or 2.
3.
Something. I was a runner-up, so one of my drawings was in the back. So people used to always bring that to me and have me sign it. But a new one popped up, which was a Ninja High School swimsuit issue.
High School swimsuit issue.
Yeah, but what's weird about it is that I remember turning in a short story for Ninja High School and getting a rejection letter. But then years later, it was published. So I thought that was interesting.
You're not going to believe this. Go ahead, and I probably just bought that today. But go ahead.
Did you?
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, we got to see this, man.
Yeah, so I did we did a swimsuit Kickstarter last year, and I homaged that cover that has my artwork on the inside. It's the worst artwork ever, too.
So that Savage Dragon was also an early J. Scott Campbell art too, because he was in that contest too. Yeah. Wow. I believe it was Savage Dragon number 3, right? Yeah. We'll have to verify that for you, Dan. But
it can't be 3.
That's cool.
It's got to be like way up in the numbers, Savage Dragon.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because it was that contest, and the person that won was some Popeye looking lobster guy, and he got to fight Savage Dragon. Oh man, I can't remember which number it was, but it wasn't like in the single digits.
Okay. They must have run that a couple of times. That's interesting, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love.
Yeah, I sold that book last night. The Ninja High School swimsuit issue, and we already shipped it out. But that is crazy because
what did it sell for?
Like $26 or something like that. But I'm just trying to see if I can pull it up here.
What was the number of that? Was it a one shot of that?
Yeah, it was a one shot back then, Brian.
Okay.
It probably has a year on it, if I'm not mistaken. Like probably 1993 or 4, Dan? Or is that?
Yeah, she's coming out of the ocean holding a porpoise, and there's a hunter in the background in the sea. And I think that's the issue you're in.
Yeah, but I think that subtitles were always like Ninja High School swimsuit issue, 1990, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
It's let me see. Yeah, it's Ninja High School swimsuit special number 7.
Number 7.
This is awesome.
I think I had 4. So I had the very first one. That's the one I'm talking about, but I think that's number 4.
Look at that. First interior work by Dan Mendoza. Shout out to our boy Nick at Key Collector.
Yeah.
Look at that.
There you go.
That's
it.
awesome.
Nick is on it.
Yeah, the interiors that have my little story in there are it's just like I used to draw just pure anime, man, and it was just kind of like that. So
yeah, we can get you into a couple furry conventions for that.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Yeah.
Unfiltered, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. So do you think there's some hesitation on your art being more anime manga, and then obviously with Zombie Tramp to a retailer, or do you think it was just the Zombie?
It was
Tramp
the name.
Yeah,
Ever since I started Zombie Tramp, it's always been the name. Everybody has a problem with the name. When San Diego Comic-Con wasn't huge, and I tried to put flyers. They had a table where you could just put flyers of everything, and there'd be like photographs of scantily clad chicks in tiny bikinis and all this stuff. We tried to put down a bunch of Zombie Tramp flyers, and they're like, you can't put that here. And we're like, well, why? What about this stuff? They go, it's not the picture, it's the name. So it's always.
So,
and we're
but
like,
do you think that also comes from a weird other side where it's like, how dare you slut shame her?
I don't know, but we always just said because Zombie Tramp, it became like more of a play on words because
Right.
it was more in the wanderer sense, like Charlie Chaplin and things like that. Because that's what it became, where she wanders, she's homeless, she just
15 years. I never got that.
Yeah, she's.
What were these them here, Dan?
Yeah, so the bottom middle is issue number. This is the very first one. You can always tell if it's the first print because I misspelled brains. It says Brian's.
That's awesome.
And then
that's cool.
Issue number 2 is on the top right. But those
Dan, where would I have gotten those? Because I had those in stock when Trish started working for me, and she lost her shit.
Really? Yeah, that's crazy. Because
I don't know. I had several copies of that, and then the one up in the top right corner.
Yeah, the top right. The bottom middle is the hardest one to get if it's the first print because I only made 80 copies.
Okay.
And I sold them all at San Diego Comic-Con.
That's probably where I met you then.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. It was 2009.
Yeah.
And those 2 top ones, the gray one and the pure white one, that's when we started the second volume, which was Taint Train of Terror.
What about this one? What's this? Is this just
that was just a like a sketchbook with a bunch of my sketches inside, and that one's really hard to find too. I did 2 different sketchbooks back then, and that was it. That's the only time I ever made sketchbooks.
Ladies and gentlemen, we just got the history lesson that a lot of people have been searching for the Zombie Tramp stuff. So good stuff, man. We always we always update that Beyond Wednesday's Creators First list whenever we can. If you guys want to find this, it's in the link. There's a description in the link, you guys. It's a living list. Anytime we talk to a creator on this channel, this is one of the things we ask them. And if you guys want to add to it, the comments are open, so you can always add to it here at Beyond Wednesdays. So
you go through this stage, first, second, and then you hit mainstream. Tell us about the transition from self-publishing, doing it yourself, putting out flyers to mainstream.
The thing was, I was about halfway through the second volume, I was like, I got to get this on the store shelves, but I had a day job. I worked like 50 to 60 hour weeks, and it's just, I just had to find a publisher. So I asked a couple, and they would turn it down. And then at the time, some of my friends started up in a company called Action Lab, and they were just like, yeah, come on over here, because we already knew each other. So I was like, oh, well, all right, whatever. And then I was like, my concern is that it's going to be on store shelves and it's going to be in Comixology. And they were like, yeah, we could do that. So they finished off the volume 2, and under it was a contract where I still pay for everything. They just get it on the shelves.
Right.
And then it just did so well that they started their very first monthly series where they paid for everything. And then at that time it was just like they sat me down and they're like, you're not going to draw it no more. You need to have a co-writer. And I was like, why do I need a co-writer? And they're like, because that's just the way it's going to be.
And what issue was this around?
This was when they were going to start the monthly series. So that was issue number 1.
Volume 3, number 1.
Yeah. So that's when it went full color. Okay. Yeah. Volume 3, number 1. So I was just like, whatever, so we had a co-writer for a little bit, and I didn't like it, bumping heads and stuff with people. And then after a while, I was just working so much and writing just so much that the co-writer couldn't keep up. So it was kind of like, I just ended up writing every issue anyways. And then once in a while, if I needed a break, they would throw the co-writer in there, and I would just throw them like a plot. And then I would only draw like 1 Zombie Tramp issue a year. But the one thing was cool is that when they told me I couldn't draw it because, they just, I got to keep up on deadlines, is that I actually found the artist that started the series, which was TM Chu. I was friends with him on DeviantArt and stuff, and he was doing adults only comic books. And I was just like, hey, I really like your anatomy. I like your style. I go, would you want to do like a legit non-pornographic comic book? Right. Sure. and he was up for it, man. So that's when that all started, man, which was really cool.
So was it, whose idea was it? Did you have the intention to do alternate covers at the beginning, or did that come in a little bit later?
That came in right towards the end of the second volume, and it was that's when they first laid it on me. They go, we want to do a nude cover. And I was like, are you sure? Like, I'm not really, I don't know about that. I was kind of like iffy on it. I was like, like people already don't like it because of the name.
Right.
So what if we did that, how's it going to be after that? So we did one nude cover for issue 4 of volume 2, and it did well. And then, so once it went to issue number 1 of volume 3, which was the full color monthly series, we started doing 3 covers with nude variants. So it'd be 6 covers total. And that's the way we just started doing it all the time. And that basically started paying the bills because being a small indie market, man, Diamond really takes a huge cut, man. It kind of screws you over. So doing all those extra variants are what enable you to get a profit, because if you're just doing a regular cover and you're just an indie company, you always lose money.
Well, but it also gives your customer base, it gives the shotgun effect of, there were people who enjoyed, name me some of those cover artists in the early days that did the secondaries, because I'm forgetting which ones they were.
Back in the day, some of the cover artists, let me see, TM Chu, man, there's so many. Marco McCagney, and
I just remember there were people who didn't pick your cover as the one they liked.
Yeah.
Which is good, because then you're selling an extra one over here that it's not just you. Like, who's that? Who's that?
Yeah.
Who did that
one? I did.
You
but
did that
was another thing, is that they thought that I needed to always turn it into some guy who's going to color it like a painting, and I never liked it, and it just didn't match my style. So that's what you're looking at right there. I just never liked that. My stuff should look more like cell shaded,
pretty,
cartoony.
It should look like an animated series, and it's just like that shit bothered me since day one, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's interesting. That I bet you that happens a lot.
That one was painted. Yeah, and I don't like it, dude.
Yeah.
It didn't even want to work. See?
Yeah.
Your computer didn't like it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it's amazing, because in the comic book world, at some point, and you probably start seeing this in conventions.
Wait a second. Can you go back, Jesse? I'm sorry. I hate to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Go back to that, Brian.
To what?
Is that correct? 940 copies ordered by retailers?
Yes, yeah. I don't know.
Look at some of these secondary prices on Zombie Tramp books are so high, because a lot of these things are such low.
Yeah, but look at go back up to 4.
Yeah.
15.
Or go up to 2.
2 has 1,600.
So you lost.
Well, at a certain point,
600 copies between.
Yeah. When Zombie Tramp was at its highest peak, man, it was always in the top 50 of sales. And Zombie Tramp was selling on average about 6,000 units a month.
Right, and keep in mind that's orders.
That cover is awesome. That guy did a comic book.
Webwitch.
It was he did something with some hip hop teddy bear. I forgot. Something plush
Stuffins,
plush gangster or something like that.
This is gorgeous. Yeah, I love that with all the hands. Yeah.
Then he disappeared after that.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Plushy Gangster. That's the name of his comic.
Yeah. So what happened with Zombie Tramp around 2016, 2017? We started to see your cult of buyers start coming in. So now it was, hey, do you carry Zombie Tramp? Okay, yeah, sure. Versus now it was all of a sudden, I need all 5 covers. I need all 6 covers. How did that? Did you start to notice that in your orders or at conventions?
I started seeing it at conventions, of course, because we put up our exclusives, and people would just get anything that had Zombie Tramp on it, and it got to a point where we would only put so many on the table a day because people would just grab them all. But yeah, it became a big thing where people were ordering every single cover in their pull box, at comic shops. So
right.
yeah, it was a trip, man.
Once again, thanks, Trish. I mean, I think we, at one point when you were doing 8 different covers, we had 5 different customers, Trish included, that were buying one of every. So we were selling 40 on rip, let alone the people who are just like, pick the best cover, give me the nude cover, you know, blah, blah, blah. So we were at one point ordering 60 to 75 of every zombie Tramp, which outsold Batman. And I would say this at a retailer summit, and they would look at me like, you fucking liar, Barger. I'm like, look at my orders.
Yep.
Yeah. So Tony Fix says, is Zombie Tramp coming back monthly or moving to solely Kickstarter?
Zombie Tramp, it will probably never be monthly. I now that I have the rights back, I'm really particular with it. So I'm you know, I only want to draw it myself, kind of thing. But it opened the door for me to do a lot of crossovers, like I did the Zombie Tramp versus Lady Death last year, and it's all because I'm able to actually, you know, get rid of these publishers and middlemen and just work with other creators and stuff like that. So Zombie Tramp, you know, stories will come out about once or twice a year on Kickstarter. But it's better that way just because we have more control and we're not just giving all of our money to Diamond. So.
Right. And that was going to be my next question. I think you starting off in Diamond as a small press going in taught you a lot of stuff early to now say, this is why I have to do a Kickstarter just financially.
Because that's how, you know, a lot of times, like when I was at Action Lab, I just sit there and I watch. I just watched a lot of stuff go down. I learned a lot of stuff, and I just kind of took mental notes on what to do, what not to do. So it's just when I started self-publishing, man, it all just started. I started getting smarter and smarter about the whole thing. So
was there somebody that in your career and in your life that kind of dropped that knowledge onto you maybe early on that you might not have listened to, or did you listen to it, you know, and jump right into, like, was there anybody that kind of pushed you that way that said, hey man, this is your brand, you should be the only one dealing with it?
My wife Knight Lynch, she was like, why aren't you doing this by yourself, you know? And I'm just like, I can't, you know, I'm just too busy, you know, and like, and it was the same thing with I never even had an online store. And she's like, how come you don't have an online store, you know? And I was like, I'm just too busy. And she's like, I'll make it, you know? And then she made it. And then we started making a lot of money on online stores.
What year did you guys get married?
We got married a year ago. Yeah. So we got married.
I mean, you guys were together for a long time.
Yeah. We've been together for almost 8 years. So yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, around that time also, I had met Brian Polito, and you know, I had done a cover for him, and then I wasn't even on his radar, and then once I did a cover, and he saw how the fans reacted to it and stuff, and my fans came over to get everything.
The kids call that a collab.
Yeah, so
that was your first Brian Polito collab.
All of a sudden I was on his radar, and I lived in Vegas at the time, and he had come down to see the Misfits or something, and he was like, hey, I'm in town, do you want to get some lunch? So we all went to go hang out with him and Fran, and he asked me about Action Lab, and I would just, you know, and I don't get all drama about it, but basically, because at the time I had made one Kickstarter, and it was called Sad Girl Psycho Baby, and which was the birth of Still Ill Comics. But he was just saying, like, kind of like, he's like, you don't have to say nothing about Action Lab, but it really says a lot when a creator that's contracted with a comic book company goes on his own and does something else. You know
I mean, I know there's certain things you don't want to get into, but we got to give the viewers a little overview on this, because for me, I was blindsided by it, you know, and Trish had to try to fill me in on the backstories that she was getting from you. Yeah. And so let's talk about, because here's the thing. I love Brian. I'm unapologetic. I think he's a brilliant publisher, but he clearly did not treat you right. And that's
And
where
we're not talking about Brian Pulido.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no.
No, I'm sorry. What's
Yeah.
that Brian's name?
I'm like, whoa.
Here's the thing. I love Brian, but I couldn't tell you his last name to save my life.
Seaton.
Seaton. There we go. So, I mean, I really appreciated Brian as a publisher.
Yeah.
He definitely turned me on to a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I think his first book, Princeless, was brilliant, and I don't know why that never got picked up. But please give us a little bit of that inside, where it started going south, what you ended up having to do, and how you had to fight your ass off to get your own property back.
I can't get too much into it as per our agreement, but it's basically when Zombie Tramp was at his all times high and stuff, it just wasn't fusing with me right anymore, and it was just like I just really was questioning a lot of paperwork and a lot of this and a lot of that, and then going back to Brian Pulido's like, he was like, do you mind if I look at your contract? And so I let him look at my contract, and he was like, you want to get out of this? And then I was like, sure, so he got me in touch with his lawyers, and I was just, the Action Lab thing, I just wasn't satisfied with it anymore, and so I basically resigned and just left Zombie Tramp there, and it was basically, we're not going to give it to you. So yeah, that started a 2-year battle in courts.
Well, and I just remember I was still supporting it blindly because that was somewhere after 50, correct?
Yeah, it was my very last issue was issue 56. That's the last one I wrote. And when they started a whole thing, it was the death of Zombie Tramp. It was a big money maker, and at that time I was like thinking, I'm like, this is stupid, but at the same time I was like, this is my out, because if it's really the death of Zombie Tramp, so I told him, I go, here's what we're going to do. We're really going to end it, and we'll start it with a brand new character that's not Janie Bell. It's a different girl, and they were just like, okay, cool, we'll do that. And then so once that got started, and Janie Bell was safe, like her story was safe, it had an ending, I was just like, I'm out. And then and then from there on, it just like it was just that
had to be
Trish
important.
came to me at order time. Trish came to me at order time, and I'm writing down the numbers like we normally would, and and she's like, hey, I got to talk to you about something. And I was like, and as much as I love Brian Seaton, we backed you. We ordered 0. And awesome, she was like, I don't want it. I've already talked to Jason number 10. He doesn't want it. If Dan's not involved, we're out. And I was like, okay, we're out.
One thing I can say, or I will say, about that whole 2-year battle was you really find out who your friends are, and you really find out which retailers support creators and which retailers support publishers. And that was a big fucking deal. There's a few retailers that I have blacklisted and will say nothing but bad shit about them because they didn't want to help me. They didn't want to get involved. They didn't want to send me the numbers on orders. And and I was like, that's fucking bullshit. And as far as friends, it was like, like some people were like, we got you, dude. Don't worry. We'll help you. We'll talk to your lawyers. And you got the people who say, no, I'm going to side with the publisher. So it was interesting.
Yep. That is very interesting. I don't understand that, especially now in this day and age of how comics are created, sold, read. It's so much in the creator's hands at this point, and it should be that way. Let's be honest, it should be that way.
But with Sad Girl Psycho Baby #1 already in my pocket, which started my own, me doing Still Ill Comics as my publishing company, and then filing lawsuit after that. We decided, okay, let's do another comic. So we did Sad Girl 2, and then we're like, wait a minute, let's do another character. So she had a sidekick named Sugar Pop, and everybody loved her. I'm like, let's do a Sugar Pop book. Nightmare wanted to do her own book, so she created Cannibal Kitty. So we made that. So we started building all these characters, and basically these characters Kickstarters paid for the lawyers to get Zombie Tramp back.
That's awesome.
So now that it's all said and done, we got like 4 main titles, and with the 5th one coming next year.
That's awesome. That's so cool. That's amazing. What crowdfunding has become.
Yeah.
You see so many creatives using it in these amazing ways. One you just said. Other ways are to get your art or your IP on other brands. One big one that I've seen is I saw a creator crowdfund to get his character on a NASCAR during a NASCAR race, and I was like, that's fucking amazing, So you could just about do just about anything.
Yeah, well, we actually got a Kickstarter that ends up this Sunday, dude. So it's the Zombie Tramp versus Sugar Pop book, which is like an in-house crossover. That one right there. So that one's got till Sunday. So about 4 days left, man. And that thing is awesome.
Yeah, we'll definitely share this really quick.
Now,
here.
What do you do now? Of course, this is what Jesse and I always ask people who do lots of Kickstarting. What do you do to try to include retailers at any point in the Kickstarter process?
When I got Zombie Tramp back and we started doing retailer tiers, but then I did that for a couple Kickstarters and then I stopped because a lot of these retailers were just raping my my fans, man. Where it's just like, they pay so much for so many books and then they're just selling them for like $200 a set, $300 a set, right. And I sell mine for $50 a set. And I'm like, that's screwed up, dude. So right away, I just stopped. But
I will say now it's not an insult, but your fans are crazy, stupid rich. Because if you go on Amazon right now, which I just did, and I pulled up, I have over 200. What does it say here? It won't say over 250 listings that say Zombie Tramp in it. And when I look at the prices on these, $29.99 for Zombie Tramp 15 ongoing main cover. We're the lowest price on Amazon at $29.99.
Yeah.
And we regularly sell these books.
Yeah, and eBay is insane, man. If you go to Zombie Tramp on eBay and type in most expensive first, it's crazy.
Let's take a look at that. Yeah, for sure. While you guys are talking, I'll take a look at that.
Yeah, like I have a Zombie Tramp number 4 Risque for $59.99, and I'm the lowest.
Yeah, yeah. What's crazy about it, and I tell people this story, that one thing I will compliment Dan on is when I first met Dan, it was, hey, Jesse, how you doing? I'm doing great. How is Vegas? Vegas is doing great. Okay, and that was the conversation. Dan was a very simple person behind a table, and I'd walk away at that time I was married. I go,
holy shit, $500? Go back up. Holy shit.
If Dan would just open up. Now we look at your personality, and your personality almost matches your brand. When do you think you really made that step? And that this is a negative comment, but when did you really open up more socially?
For a 9.6, Brian, did you see that?
Yeah, I already told you, Zombie Tramp stuff is crazy.
I'm taking everything. Don't go over to Amazon and buy all my Zombie. Taking it all off of Amazon, and I'm sending it off to get it.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, I kind of forced myself to be more out there, put my face on the screen a lot. Make sure that when I do a Kickstarter that I do a video of myself talking, and it all goes back to the 90s, man, when Rob Liefeld was in a Levi's commercial. That's, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like the pre-start before Image Comics was, comic book conventions were just small hotel shows. You never really knew the face of an artist. You just knew their art. And then,
one of the loves about Wizard in the early days was it showed us pictures of these people that we had never seen.
Yeah, and then right when Wizard came, and you had Image, the guys that started Image and stuff, they started putting their faces on everything, and then Wizard had like top 10 artists, and then you saw these people's faces, and it's just kind of like that becomes a thing, man, where you have to, not only does your art have to show all the time, but your face too, so they can kind of put 2 and 2 together. And that was one of the things when we started the Zombie Tramp monthly series. I was like, one of the deals is that my name has to be at the top of every book, what I mean? So people start remembering the name. But yeah, I'm constantly, when I shoot videos, I hate it, man.
Yeah.
It just stresses me out, and usually I just do like 2 takes. I'm like, I can't do this no more. Then I just chop it together. But I'm just like, it's nerve wracking, man. I can't make a video like Polito where it sounds like a monster truck rally.
Right.
Know?
Exactly. Yeah. And the
radio
and
voice.
And the funny part is, once you get into, I don't know what the best way to say it, but once you get into that Polito clique, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to his shows and you're seeing 21 artists at a show that is not a convention, it's a Lady Death convention. It's a sworn fest. And you're part of that every year.
Yeah.
Tell us about being part of that group.
It's awesome, man. And what was cool this year is that when we did the Sworn Fest, the Lady Death book was still the Lady Death versus Zombie Tramp book was still being fulfilled. But I was like, hey, let's do a preview book as an exclusive at the show and stuff like that. But everybody had the digital copy.
Right.
And so what was cool about it is that doing a Sworn Fest, they had people that liked my stuff that came from Lady Death fandom, and they started liking my stuff too. But at the same time, a lot of people didn't because my stuff's too cartoony. So then after a lot of these people read my Lady Death versus Zombie Tramp story, they came to my table and they're just like, I'm sold, man. You that book sold me, man.
Well, and I think Lord of Brooklyn already got his, and he said he loved it in the chat.
Yeah, so we're gonna be done. We're gonna be done fulfilling that Kickstarter by the end of June. We got like about almost 380 orders left to do, but yeah.
Is there? I see somebody asked in the chat. Collector Piece asked about you maybe putting on a Still Ilcon.
Next year we are doing Ilcon 2025, and it might piss the retailers off, but we're doing it on Free Comic Book Day, May 3rd, and it's
where?
It's going to be in Jackson, Michigan, and stuff. So we have the venue. So it's only an hour drive for you, Dennis.
No. But listen, hold on, because I might want to get a piece of this.
Yeah.
Because I'm probably not going to do Free Comic Book Day anymore.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you watched the show 2 weeks ago, but they've now put this big kids event on Free Comic Book Day in my mall.
Oh, shoot.
Which was the worst Free Comic Book Day in 19 years that I've done. And I was like, maybe I'll just do my own Free Comic Book Day from now on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, we're right now we're looking for sponsors and stuff like that. We got our guest list already. What else?
Count Wonderworld in, sir.
We got our venue. What'd you say?
Count Wonderworld in. I'm in. Tell me what I need to do to sponsor.
For sponsorship? Okay, cool. I'll hit you up. We're working on the agreement contracts right now for that.
What would be the theme of it? It sounds like it. Yeah.
We're calling it it's Ilcon, and we're calling it a Still Ill Comics experience. So my wife Knight also does like healing ritual stuff like that, and so we have another side to the venue where people can get massage therapy and sound healing and all kinds of stuff. But we're doing the usual. We got tattoo artists booked. We got about 11 artists and it's all people that work with me. So we got like 11 artists, 3 writers, a couple surprise guests that we're going to throw at people later in the year. But yeah, it's just a 1-day event, 8 hours. We're going to have 22 exclusives. And then, so what we're doing is that I'm still building the page for to buy your tickets and stuff. So once that goes live, that basically makes it so like they have access to we're going to do like a internet pop-up store where you're not going to know what it is. And then we'll get that. We'll just group mail everybody. Like, here's the link, and they could do their pre-orders and all that stuff. And then we'll do like the day before the show, pick up your badge, pick up your pre-orders, and then enjoy the show the next day. We got food trucks, we got everything. The venue's awesome. Brian Polito came out to sign books with me on the weekend, and I was like, "You want to see the venue?" He's like, "Yeah." So I showed him, and he loved it, man. So
no, it's good. It's good that you're taking this opportunity to branch out and learn more, attract new customers.
Yeah.
Listen, at the end of the day, people buy from people. You could have the best product in the world, but if people don't like you, they ain't buying your product.
But also, Jesse, it's what we've said on here multiple times. If the retailers are too fucking thick to buy a product that retailers like Jesse and I were owning their customers were coming from other stores to buy Zombie Tramp because their store was too much of a prude to buy it. They were, and I'll throw them under the bus. Green Brain Comics refused to carry Zombie Tramp for the longest time.
Oh yeah.
And I'm Sir Mix-a-Lot on that shit. I'll pull up and retrieve it, right? Yeah.
So I had a silent contract with Diamond during the day, and this was with a lot of titles. But with Zombie Tramp, we didn't care if it was damaged or not. We didn't care if someone returned it. We bought it all. And people just we would get books that the page would have sold, right?
Yeah.
And so,
I used to think. I'll be honest. I used to think that Zombie Tramp was like such a high published comic because my LCS is Jesse James Comics, and I go into Jesse's, and there you see so many Zombie Tramp. You can tell them right away with the Action Lab stuff on it. Those old school early Action Lab issues. You can instantly see them, and they were everywhere at the time. I didn't realize how rare some of this Zombie Tramp stuff is because you had so much of it. It was unreal. So, good shit.
There was a so what was? Did you do a Stan Lee issue 50? Did you do
variant?
Probably. Yeah, there was one. We did a Stan Lee one. We also did a Carrie Fisher one.
Okay. You also Carrie did Fisher Trump and Hillary.
What was
the Trump? The Trump one was fun. It was said we changed the logo so it didn't say Zombie Trump. It said Zombie Trump, and that was fun. And has her have Trump. He's all orange and tied up, and she's putting makeup on his face. And stuff.
How did you put together the Carrie Fisher one? What was the idea on that?
It's a lot of people got mad. We put her on a tombstone, and we made sure we spell her name wrong, and I don't really remember what the cover looked like because I didn't draw it, but
it was hugging. I believe Zombie Tramp was hugging the tombstone like Daredevil.
Oh, I don't
know.
No,
I think it was just in the background.
By the way, go up real quick. Brian, go up for a second. The red, white, and blue trucker, go up one more.
Yeah.
I own the
Josh
OA
Howard.
for that.
I own the Josh
OA
Howard?
For that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, this is the great one, too. The Star Wars homage.
I didn't even know that was Monty Moore, man.
Which one?
Monty Moore? Really?
Yeah, apparently that was Monty Moore.
This one right here?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, is.
Was that Rosansky? So Rosansky was on board for Zombie Tramp.
I love this one too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's Nathan Zerdy stuff.
Oh wait, is that the Wonderworld? Go back up. Hold on. Yeah, that's the 50th issue. That's the Wonderworlds right there.
Right.
The selfie one? Yeah, that one's a good one, man. That was a big seller.
And I gave you your first copy of that at Monroe Pop Fest.
Yep. Thank you. I sold them all.
I got more.
I love this one. More. I need to get one of these.
Yeah, that one's awesome. That's issue 56B. That's the first Kickstarter that I did where I self-published it.
Wow.
Yeah, I did the Nirvana variant.
I got to get one of those. That's cool.
Let's
see here.
That one, go back up. There's an Angel Lynch cover. Keep going.
This one?
No.
Right here?
It's this girl, the one that says censored. That was the other Zombie Tramp, Angel Lynch. That's my last cover I did for Action Lab. That's the very last cover.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you look at this and you see the prices, you had mentioned that you sell this book for $49. The retailers were selling it for $300.
Yeah.
What's your sense when you see these prices?
When I see these, I go, "That's nice."
Right.
Well, no, but Dan, I know for a fact you had a lot of these books.
Yeah.
And so you actually invested in yourself a lot of the times on these.
And what's crazy is that I see some of these prices, and I'm like, I have that in my online store right now, and it's only like $40.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's why he's talking about. Does this inspire you to do more? As far as I got this issue, but then like you said, you got 22 covers coming out.
Go back up, Brian, to the
does this inspire you that people that have this sense of value
right there
for your product?
Yeah, I like it. You know, it's a good feeling. You know, like it makes you feel a little bit more valid, like that you're doing something that people are has a good collectability about it. But I get most of that when I do conventions, you know, and the amount of people that come see me.
Well, here's the thing, and this is no offense to Brian Polito, because I think he'll be the first one to admit the 90s overproduced everything. There have been lots of period of time where people have dumped so much early Lady Death stuff that the market looks like it's dead. You know, and you sit there and you're like, oh my God, you can't even get $5 for a Lady Death 1. But then there are other times where the market dries up, and Brian is right place, right time at every dip in the curve. And there it is. Yeah.
They didn't like it. It was offensive because they're holding Princess Leia head.
Yep.
Oh wow.
Crazy, right? That's nuts. Oh my God, man.
Yeah, but you know, whatever.
It is what it is. Yeah. Get over it. She would have loved it.
What I'm saying is that at no point have you gone back over your overstock and said, "Oh, let's go reprint Zombie Tramp 1 through 6, where the market's at $300 an issue," and you haven't gone in and said, "Okay, I want to make some of that sweet Zombie Tramp 1 through 6 money, so I'm going to reprint a foil variant of it, you know, with a new trade dress." You know, you allow the market to stay where it's at.
Yeah, I don't really reprint anything. Like this year's the 15-year anniversary of Zombie Tramp, so I'm re-releasing issue 1, 2, 3. So I released 1 and 2 already, and I just do it in my store only. And there's like a 50th anniversary, like a foil stamped logo in the bottom corner. And it's the original covers, but I redrew them like up to date with my current style. Right.
But what I'm saying is it's a new piece of product. It's not milling the same old product that you already.
I don't want to do the whole like reprinting razor kind of thing, you know.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Well, throughout history, we went from bondage to strong women to bad girl to cheesecake. Where do you fall into that? I'm
a 90s bad girl guy, man. Like I grew up, you know, that's what I collected, you know, in my adolescent years. You know, I just grew up on, you know, Lady Death and She and you know, anime books like Dirty Pair and, you know, Adam Warren stuff. And, you know, that's the stuff that I would buy because like I said before, I got tired of superheroes, and especially after the Image boom, it was just I don't know, I wasn't interested anymore. It was just done. After Silver Surfer did it, Infinity Gauntlet, I was just like, I don't want to buy Silver Surfer no more because I can't keep up with these books. I'm just a young kid with only $5, you know. But yeah, it's just I started reading, you know, the Crow, and I started reading like Preacher, and I started reading like things that were just like these anti-heroes and things that weren't like superhero related and stuff, and that was interesting to me. But mostly, you know, when I do comic books, I don't really even think about comic books. I think about movies, man.
And then Vampblade shows up. Well, what issue was it? Like 30, issue 30 something?
That was the Bath Salts run.
Yeah.
The Vampblade thing was because they're like, okay, Zombie Tramp's doing really good. We need to start franchising. We need to start making other characters and put them in her universe, you know, hence the Zombie Tramp universe. And then Jason Martin from Action Lab created Vampblade, and he put that in there, and we're like, cool, it's gonna be a vampire character. But then it wasn't. It was some weird space vampire fighter or something, and it was. But
I didn't get with the little space herpes. I
wasn't really into that character, so we kind of made it in the story that they never get along because I don't like that character. So Zombie Tramp naturally doesn't like that character. And then I all this stuff was going on, and I still had a day job. And
oh my God!
Yeah, so I've been divorced multiple times, but yeah, I would work all day. I would come home, do some comic book stuff, and just not sleep that much. My weekends were always dedicated to comic book stuff. I'd use up all my vacation days on going to conventions. But it came to the point where I just couldn't do both, so I quit my day job. And once I quit my day job, I was like, I need to make way more money. So that's when I told Action Lab, I go, we got to do another series. And then
that's Dollface.
So we made Dollface, and then they're like, and then I was like, I'm going to draw all the issues. We'll co-write ideas and stuff. And then we did that. And then, so then it became like this whole universe. But then they started with the Danger Doll Squad and all that stuff. And then they started calling it like, one of the things that I never liked is that I'm like, this is the Zombie Tramp universe. Everybody knew it was the Zombie Tramp universe. All the fans knew it was the Zombie Tramp universe, and they ended up calling it like the Danger Doll universe or something like that. And I was just like, fuck that, dude. And that was like the beginning of the end. And
I know you're in the middle of that whirlwind.
Yeah.
I just wish me as a retailer who supported you as big as we did. I mean, when you would see, I have the old order books. One of these days I'll bring some down so you can just see all the numbers on every single variant cover that we ordered. I mean, me alone, I could have personally just hired you, and
right.
And you would have made more money off of me than, but my orders were, and it's just like, Jesus. I just wish there was a way for creators like you. I mean, let me put it this way. Kind of like what one of the rules on this show is give your knowledge freely. And that's clearly what Brian Pulido did for you.
Yeah.
What's a piece of advice for a comic book creator like yourself who's stuck in a dead-end contract? What advice would you give them right now if they're in the same situation?
A lot of people, like after I got the rights back to Zombie Tramp, a lot of people wanted to, all of a sudden they wanted to get out of their contract with Action Lab as well. A lot of people, one of the things that used to irk me was that the whole time I was with Action Lab and all these new creators came over, they would give me the stink eye. They would constantly give me the stink eye. They're constantly just like, this is
not a team player.
Yeah, but it was just like, and then they started saying, all they care about is Zombie Tramp. All they care about is Zombie. I'm like, because it's the one that makes the money. I'm like, your book is printed because of the money that Zombie Tramp made. So it was just kind of like, once I got the rights back, everybody thought that they could get their rights back. And the thing is they didn't have the funds to get the rights back. And also, if they did get the rights back, they do a Kickstarter thinking that they're gonna be rich now, but they're not, because they never had a fan base to begin with. Their books never made numbers,
because they were on your coattails.
Yeah, and it was just my advice is that when you make comic books, make them for yourself, and then and if it doesn't do well, try another one or whatever, and just try a couple different ones. But the main thing is, like, if you don't find your audience, then no one's gonna give a shit. And then you're just going to be having this comic book that has low sales and things like that. So, I just made a book for myself. I found fans that like the same stuff. And then I just went with that. I stay in contact with them. I treat my fans like friends, man. I treat them, I'm not a prick. Like, I don't, when I'm at conventions, I don't complain about everything.
Well, let me just tell this little story about Dan Mendoza real quick. So, and there was no time where I ever went to a convention where you didn't immediately beeline over to me and say hello to me. Yeah. Sometimes you'd be sitting in the back doing a doodle for somebody who, paid you $100 for a head sketch or whatever.
Yep. Yeah.
But there's not one time where you didn't get off your ass and immediately beeline over to me because I think we had a pretty good rapport. B, you knew I was going to buy some product from you. And C, and this is important for all the other creators, he had identified that one of my employees was one of his best hand sellers, and there was never a time where you didn't grab one of your copies and write to Trish, hey, Dennis, can you give this to Trish? Yeah. And you identified your core fan base alongside all of these other things that I'm sure you had like a little Terminator heads up display. Oh, Dennis, he represents 100 copies a month, blah, 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 blah. You know, and then you're like, also make sure Trish gets a comp. You know, and it was just, and it was like, but it was indicative of every time I met you. There was never oh God, Dennis is here.
Mostly at conventions, I was doing like 13, 15 commissions a weekend. So I always had my head down, just constantly working, man. Just working, trying to get as much stuff as I can. So it's just kind of like I didn't interact a lot, but if a fan came and they're, you know, they're really talking to me, you can tell that they're really interested and everything like that. I'm gonna give them, like, you know, like they say with Arnold Schwarzenegger, you give them, you know, the Dan Mendoza experience. You know what I mean? Like you make them feel like when they walked away, they're like, that was a great meeting. You know what I mean? He's a great guy. You know, things like that. You know, I'm not fake about it. I don't put on a show, but at the same time, I don't want to go to a convention and act like I'm in a bad mood. You know, and I think that's rule number one for any comic book creator.
Customer service.
Prick, man, no one's gonna buy your shit. There's a lot of famous comic book artists out there that are kind of pricks, and you know, and I've met a lot, man. And I've for one, I always say this, that when I was a young teenager and I met Rob Liefeld at a small show, and he had just come out with What If Wolverine Was an Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., you know, and I was always really inquisitive to ask questions about breaking into the comic books, you know, the business, and he was a prick. You know, he didn't want to talk to me. It was kind of like buy my book and leave me alone kind of thing. And it was just like, I always remember that I'm not gonna, you know, I don't want to be like that. You know, it's fucked up, you know.
Never a bad day for you at a con. You don't ever want to have that happen. Yep.
Right. So Dan, before we bring on the next guest, tell us about your Kickstarter, what's going on with it. It's ending this Sunday.
Yeah.
First tell them first tell them why Polito was out there first to finish up the last Kickstarter. Yeah.
Polito came by on the weekend because we did the crossover of Zombie Tramp and versus Lady Death, which was amazing. And then we've been like sending out books and waves and stuff, but we kept holding on to the wave where we had to sign all these books until Brian was available. And then
can you pull up that picture of that giant table full of books?
Yeah,
Brian.
So he flew.
Where is it?
He flew up and.
Is it in your IG, Dan?
Facebook.
Facebook.
Is that where it's at? Okay.
Polito's Facebook.
Okay.
Polito's Facebook.
I'll go find it.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was just, we just laid out every single folding table we had, man, and I think we knocked it out in a day, and then he was going to be here till like midday Sunday.
There it is.
No, that's Polito at his place.
Yeah, that's his own book.
That's his stuff. But
that's his own stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's like a big, there's like a garage door in it.
Yeah, we had a video, but it could have expired.
I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. But since we finished in one day, we're just like, hey, let's incognito go to Motor City Comic Con. So Sunday we just shopped like comic book fans, and it is interesting. It ended up being there. You know, it just ended up being a Jack Kirby
Shout out
day,
to Cody
man.
Lockwood.
Yeah, it's
That's
Cody
awesome.
Lockwood. Yeah, but it ended up being a Jack Kirby day because it was like that's all me and Brian pretty much bought was just slab Jack Kirby books and stuff. But
comic fans till the end, man.
Cool when people just recognized us walking around, man.
That's awesome. That's what I love about doing these shows is we get to talk to creators about fandom also. So we always ask one question to creators, and that goes back to the early days of fandom. Other than a place that sells comic books, what to you is a comic book store? What should a comic book store be?
what it should be is it should be like kind of like not a place just to lounge around, but it should, you know what I mean, it should be where, you know, people are like-minded in there, and they can, you know, they can kind of talk about things that everybody else thought that you're kind of weird for liking that stuff, you know what I mean? That's how it was when I was younger. But yeah, a comic book store should kind of feel comfortable, like,
yes.
but it should have the variety that people are interested in, and not just buying something because there was a movie about it.
Amen.
All right.
Amen.
All right. So
hold on. What the other question?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jesse.
we gotta get his Kickstarter out before we bring So if we can, let's talk about his Kickstarter real fast, and then you can ask that question. Yeah.
All right, pull it up.
So it ends Sunday.
Yes, it ends Sunday. It's our highest grossing character before we got the rights back to Zombie Tramp was Sugar Pop. So Sugar Pop, we did 4 issues, which was her origin story, and then we decided let's have these two meet and watch this trailer. It's really cool. There's animation by the Zong brothers, who are part of the Still Ill family.
I'll let you go ahead and talk over it, Dan, and so we can just yeah.
So but yeah, it's the Zong brothers are part of the Still Ill family. They do the interiors on this. I wrote it. It's like 56 pages or something like that of story. So it's going to be square bound. And check out this quick little animation that the Zong brothers did. It's really cool. I like to get the Zong brothers to animate almost every single Kickstarter we do, just like a little fun trailer and stuff like that. So
here we go.
But, yeah.
And that's about it. Stay ill.
Is anybody home? How about this one?
Yeah. That looks great. Yeah, that looks gorgeous. I love the El Taco.
Question we ask all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have such a manga style with this character. Why not try your hand at making an actual American manga? Backwards, read, small.
We did that. We had a book called The Tales of Ill, and it was a hardcover book, and it was like 300 pages or something like that. And we had it was a bunch of short stories, and the first half of the book was full color, you know, Western stories, and then the middle was like an art gallery. But once you got to the end of the art gallery, there was a thing that said turn the book over and read the next stories backwards.
Oh, that's cool.
So at that point, it had the whole thing. This is how to read manga, you know, from right to left, all that stuff. And there was like several stories in there that were just black and gray, maybe a little bit of color, but they were all manga style.
Yeah, this is awesome. Oh yeah, we got the link. I'll put the link in the description.
Yeah.
I'm going to drop the link again into the chat. This is great. Before we get you out of here though, man, we want to
hold on, we got to ask what was your first comic book?
Oh, my first comic book was Dynamo Joe.
Dynamo Joe.
Dynamo Joe. I think was it First Comics, I think?
Yeah, First Comics #1, Dynamo Joe.
Dynamo Joe #1 was my first comic book.
And where did you buy it?
I bought it. I missed the bus out of school and had to walk home, and I ended up at a comic book store in Sacramento, and I don't remember the name. I want to say Comics Unlimited or something, but yeah, there it is. Dynamo Joe #1, man. I got it for I bought it for $1. Yeah.
And it is a great read.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. It's
And then I was big into robots, man, growing up, like Manzinger, all the Manzinger, Go Nagai stuff. That was my upbringing, man. So
That's awesome. Well, we want to bring in somebody who is also another retailer supporter of Dan Mendoza. Let's introduce our second guest for the night, Mr. Shawn Hudachko. How you doing, Shawn?
Yo.
There he is.
What up, Dan, the man?
What's up? Look at that microphone, man.
Yeah.
It's so girthy.
It's very red and phallic.
So it was my idea to bring both of you guys on for this little transition period because, Shawn, I'm really excited about you resurrecting an old license that I loved.
Yeah.
That ended with some controversy, just like Zombie Tramp did, and it has a second rebirth, another life to it. Tell us about Double Impact.
Yeah, the Kickstarter ended a little while ago. We're in the midst of getting all the surveys out so we can start getting it fulfilled and printed. Materials are all done. Everything's completed. Just got to print it and ship it. So
tell us
excited about it.
Tell us about how you acquired this, what you did.
Well,
and what it was for the audience that doesn't have any clue what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so Double Impact was in the 90s, right amongst the bad girl craze. It's funny, Jesse keeps sending me pictures of other titles that were published from there. I was like, I don't even know this one existed, right? So, Ricky Carolero reached out to my wife actually and was like, "Hey, I'm trying to get hold of your husband." She connected us, and he said, "Hey, his son tragically passed away about a year ago."
No.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was a car accident. All the info is online if anybody wants to look it up. But Ricky reached out to me. Excuse me. Reached out to me in the midst of all this tragedy happening, and he's like, "Hey, I'm looking to sell my property. I can't do it anymore." And a bunch of people told me about you and some stuff that you've been doing, and this seems right up your alley. And I was like, "Oh my god!" Like,
like I'll take it.
Like, sorry for your loss. Number one, number two, like, let's work this out. And there was quite a lot of negotiating, went back and forth. We eventually worked out a deal, and over this last year, I've become really good friends with Ricky. Many long talks with him over the loss of his son and his grieving process and everything. And we've been trying to figure out what to do with this. Like, how do we, I want to do credit to what it was. I mean, just brutally honest here, it wasn't a well-written comic, I guess. It was.
I think it was resting on a few other assets that the license had.
Assets, yeah. So this stuff was so old. He had to send me in the mail a bunch of CDs that had all the files on them of the interiors and the covers, and then half the CDs didn't work right. He had a computer that was locked up. It was too full, and it was such a nightmare story. He paid to get somebody out there to try to work on it, and it didn't work. And, there's a lot of history in there between Armando Huerta and Ricky Carolero. Again, it's all online. It makes for a fascinating read if you want to do some deep diving into it. But I said, look, none of that has to do anything with me. I'm just buying the rights to the property.
Right.
I'm going to re-energize this thing, do what I do with it. And, it went pretty good. We had a successful Kickstarter. Just shy. We're not quite Dan Mendoza numbers yet, but,
well, Shawn, do me a favor. So I lost touch with Ricky around 2001, 2002. Give him my best the next time you talk to him. I was a booking agent for celebrities when I met him, and he and his wife, and they were at a booth across from our booth, our signing booth. And we probably, I think we hung out probably about 5 or 6 different conventions that year. And I was good friends with him and his wife. So give them my best and my sympathies as well.
Sure. Yeah, I will for sure.
So just real quick.
He's been in. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, since we got both of you on, do you look at each other's Kickstarters to see how you can better yours at all? Or is it other people's Kickstarters just blinded and it's just about the numbers?
Well, I'll go ahead, Dan.
The answer is no. I don't look. I really don't look at a lot of Kickstarters. I usually see. Only time I look at Kickstarter stuff is I want to see what's the highest selling live campaign at that moment. I always see Shawn right there, right next to me, which is cool. But yeah, I usually just on like Instagram and things like that, when I see people posting their campaigns is when I do see like artists that I've never seen before, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna message them. But so I've seen it a few times on Shawn's where he's using an artist I really like. So that's most of the time when I look at a Kickstarter, it's just for the artists. So
the question that I wanted to ask both of you having you on though is what mentality do you have to attack this from? Basically understanding you are at ground zero. Everything that the license meant before you is restarted, and now you're doing a different thing on a different venue or genre, sales platform. What's that like, and what mentality do you have to attack it with for success?
Well, on that, I can just say it was incredibly nerve-wracking for me to take this title that had a history, like a long history, and a lot of fans. And for example, I made a decision to change one of the girls to blonde, and they were both dark-haired. And I thought for sure the world would go crazy, or some people. It's just, it became too hard to tell them apart in the stories. And I said, girls wear different hair colors all the time. I mean, if you've been married for any length of time, your girl will have 15 different hairstyles over the course of 5 years. But anyway, you have to just look at what's worked for you in the past and know what your fan base wants.
Yeah.
Because that's ultimately what you're selling to, is your buyers. Your fans are going to be the ones that buy from you. So as long as you are doing, do justice to the character, represent them well, and really every campaign, every Kickstarter is a roll of the dice. You never know what you're going to do. Yeah. I've had some that have crushed it beyond what I thought, and others that have been way short of what I thought.
What is that retention level you're looking at the beginning of each Kickstarter? What percentage are you looking at to retain? 60%, 50%?
From Kickstarter to Kickstarter?
Yes, correct.
Well, I think Dan can attest to this too. You always have your core guys that are always going to buy from you, no matter what you put out. You're going to have your guys they'll buy if they like it, and then you always got to find the new people that are going to come in and try to buy your stuff also. So we can always count on a certain amount of backers. That's something we watch very closely, is how many people back this campaign. We try to get between 600 to 800 backers. With the highest we've ever had has been 1,000. And so much work goes into these things before they go live. It's insane the amount of work that goes into these things. The graphics, the planning, the covers, the tiers, building it out. It's an enormous amount of work.
Yeah, Dan was just talking about that too when he said he just didn't have time to do it. He was so busy, working on the character that his wife had to get, convince him, okay, let's start this. And there's the creating of the property side, where Dan kind of had a heads up where it was his baby, right? So that was a little bit different. Whereas you're starting this fresh. This wasn't your baby, so it's completely fresh, which is interesting. So
you're a stepdad now.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm stepdad.
Yeah. Well,
hey, those girls will call me daddy if they met me.
Yeah. Dan, I want to say thank you, man, for hanging out with us tonight. You got a seat anytime you want to come on the channel for any reason, and I'm sure we're going to reach out to you more and more. I know you're a busy guy, so.
How about every Kickstarter?
You
there
got
you
it.
go. Every
You got
Kickstarter,
it.
and definitely.
I'll see you in July then.
There you go.
Thanks,
right,
Dan.
buddy.
Appreciate you. All right, later, brother.
See you guys.
Okay.
All right. Listen, I mean, Dan Mendoza is one of the most beloved creators that our community talks about. He's got such a huge fan base; it's unreal, and that's an important thing. It's very interesting that the fan base that he had for Zombie Tramp stuck with him the whole time. Have you seen the fan base to Double Impact? Has the fan base come out? I mean, you changed the hair color, but has it come out in a positive way?
I would say yes, because there's not a single person I've talked to that has said, I can't believe you're doing this. Every person has positively received, oh my God, it couldn't have gone to a better place. I'm so happy you're doing this. I mean, artists, creatives, fans, everyone has said, wow, this is so cool. This is so great. I'm excited to get it into people's hands so they can read it, because I think the story is really good. It's one of our, I'm not doing 52-page hardcovers like Dan is doing, but this will be, I think it's 32 pages of story. It's good. I mean, they are not good guys at all. They are bad girls. They are
bitches. You can say it. They are bad bitches.
They're not anti-heroes.
Yeah.
They're not like Wolverines or anything like that where they're good but they're really bad. They are just evil. They are bad, period. So I feel like we're kind of lacking that in the comic world anyway. Amen. Like a true villain.
Right.
Look at even Magneto's, you kind of get where they're coming from. Dr. Doom, he's just running his country,
Yes.
But
that's the anti-hero. Yeah.
Yeah.
The little anti-hero thing.
It's crazy because you kind of look at our history, 80 plus years of bad women, strong women, bondage, cheesecake. It's always been in the top tier in sales. So it's kind of like, why would you go any other direction right now?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have enough good guy, good girl characters. I don't need any more of them. I need the straight up evil, quick thing happens in the comic. They fight, the girls fight this other girl. This girl infiltrates their compound. They fight her. They cut her to pieces, leave her on and the reason she's infiltrates her compound is because the Double Impact girls escaped from prison and they killed the guards on the way out, and one of the guards was this girl's girlfriend. So she's getting vengeance for her girlfriend. They beat the crap out of this girl, cut her to pieces, and on the way out they leave her alive on the floor with basically a stumps gone, like Black Knight type, killed her, right? And then they basically like say hi to your dead girlfriend for us on the way out. Like,
ooh,
I mean, that's how they leave it. So
yeah,
they're bad girls.
Yeah.
Well, to answer Jesse's comment, I just think of Megadeth and the famous line, "Peace sells, but who's buying?"
Yeah.
Nobody wants to buy a book about people just being happy and no drama. And
nope.
It is definitely about the action.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Shawn, last time you were on here, we had that great episode with James, which was just a complete shootout between everybody. And, we talked about IP and how important IP is and the lines you have to walk with IP. And there have been, in the last couple of weeks, some amazing things that have kind of happened in the world of comic IP, comic creation, with the Tidalwave publisher that has been doing some books that you've talked about on Beyond Wednesdays a couple of times, including the biggest books. Some of the biggest books of the year, and that being the Female Force Taylor Swift books, which have just, very few times have we seen books like this be on the Hot 10 multiple times in a row. It was on the House of Stein Hot 10 multiple times in a row, for multiple covers. You did an amazing Shikari cover for it that is just absolutely gorgeous. There's probably, I don't know how many covers there are, but there is a ton of covers just to the Taylor Swift one alone. And we kind of talked about that. And I was very interested because, one of the things that you've dealt with is receiving cease and desist letters in the past. And it's been a big thing in how you handle your business and stuff. And can just, without getting too much into it, what was that like receiving a cease and desist letter with a comic pup, being a comic pup publisher?
So we got a cease and desist because Shikari did a likeness that was not even a likeness; it was the celebrity. And most celebrities don't pay attention to what us little people do. They're millionaires, we're thousandaires, so they really don't give a shit about us. But somebody ratted me out to this person. I know exactly how it happened and what happened, and we got a cease and desist from the celebrity, and it was straight up like, it wasn't just, hey, stop doing this. It was, we want to know how many you sold, how much you sold them for, how many were printed. They were in a discovery phase. We want to know, we want invoices from the printer. We want your Shopify backend data. We want, you're not just going to put numbers on a piece of paper. We want the facts. We want all of this. And then they said, once we determine how much money you made, we want all the money. Then we'll decide how much damages we're going to sue you for. And it was terrifying. I mean, no. I'm not scared easily. I'm not intimidated easy, but it was terrifying. My only saving grace was nothing had shipped.
Oh,
nothing shipped out.
Yeah.
Everything had been printed. I spent thousands of dollars on printing. Nothing had shipped. I contacted them after several emails. I said, none of this is shipped. And they agreed if I destroyed everything, I had to provide lots of proof of destruction, receipts from those big shredder trucks that drive around and they destroy things for you.
Sure.
I had to provide lots of proof of destruction. And then they said, consider it resolved. However, we reserve the right in the future if we decide, blah, blah, blah. So it went away, but it was terrifying. I've told that story to James from Mad Love. I've told it to some other people in hopes of look, guys, this is not, Faro's Lounge does all this crazy shit and he thinks he gets away with it because he's so small potatoes. None of the big people care. But if somebody does look at this the wrong way, if somebody decides, if it's only a matter of time, if someday the Marvel and DCs of the world decide to say stop, then that's it. And the more we push the envelope with it, the more likely I call poking the bear. The more you poke the bear, the more likely the bear is going to slash back.
Yep.
Stop poking the bear, man. Stop. Trust me. This happened to me. And most of the guys I've told the story to, they've listened, they've adjusted. The Mad Love stuff, I think James has stopped doing majority of what he does. Those art books have gone away. Just because really the industry is kind of pushed back. We self-policed ourselves, if you will.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Let me just say this real quick. That's on a cease and desist letter. So for them to technically go into discovery, even before the lawyer sits down with your lawyer, that's hardcore. That's there's no really options out.
Yeah.
And if go ahead.
Yeah. No, they knew they had me dead to rights. They were even my lawyer was yeah, he basically sit without saying, he's you're stupid. Why'd you do this?
Now, what book was this?
It was on a Power Hour Shikari cover. We did a Barbie cover. It looked
like Margot Robbie.
It looked exactly like Margot Robbie.
Yeah, I remember seeing those.
Well, what we did was he redid the cover. He redrew the entire cover, and we notified all the customers. This is what's happening. We're changing the cover. If you want a refund, you're welcome to a refund. We didn't send out a mass email to everybody. Only people who bought the book.
Mm-hmm.
because I have a lot of haters out there that'll blow. They talk about things they know nothing about. So he redrew the cover. We literally only had like 5 people ask for a refund. I mean, everybody wants the Shikari covers, and we successfully refilled. It did cost me a lot of money because I had to reprint everything, but
sure,
as compared to what it could have done.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And it's very interesting. And we brought that up when you announced the Taylor Swift thing. And you have a relationship with the Tidalwave publisher, enough to where you were able to talk to him, and you felt confident with everything that was going on with Tidalwave that this was a good move going forward. So did a lot of people. I mean, there's been a lot of retailers that are working with Tidalwave. And, we talk about it a lot on this channel because it's a popular publisher right now. I mean, it is at the top of a lot of people's content creation when it comes to speculation, secondary market sales and stuff like that because of what they're selling for and what retailers are making off of them. So last Wednesday, I think it was last Wednesday, we were doing our regular market report stuff. And one of our viewers, we were actually talking, I forget what book we were talking about. It was another Tidalwave book, I believe. And one of our viewers sent us this, which was just absolutely unreal timing. And it was Tidalwave, Darren, I believe at Tidalwave, put out this kind of like, I don't know what you call it, maybe an op-ed or something, him talking about basically receiving cease and desist letters, and how in some way, how what he's doing is legal, and he's not gonna, stop doing it. It was kind of like, it felt like he was kind of like letting this all out there. Hey, I'm going to receive more of these, and this is how I'm going to handle it. So I reached out to you, and I thought to myself, I said, if there's anybody that would be great to talk about this, it would be you. And luckily enough, you said, you know what? Why don't we I'll reach out to Darren, and we'll see if we can get Darren on. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Darren Davis from Tidalwave Publishing. Hi, Darren. How you doing, man?
Hey, Darren. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I was doing Margarita Tuesday, but Shawn reached out to me, and I'm like, let's do this. So,
excellent.
There you go.
Glad to hear from you guys.
Well, we appreciate it, and this was an amazing moment. Like I said, especially synchronicity. I always say synchronicity follows me, but it follows all of us. And we just happened to be talking about it. And what was the mindset and of putting out this post? And tell us about the cease and desist that you did receive on this.
So, and I'm transparent. It's pretty much who I am. That's why I will say answer any question, whatever it is. So with this, my brother, who is weirdly enough, who passed away about 4 months ago, he wrote this. We used to do these like little, as you said, little op-eds on our website that just kind of like talked about comic books in general and, different viewpoints and that type of stuff. Because we wanted to do more content than just like, for like fans and what we actually go through. And so one of the little misnomer things in the world out there was, I guess I can't even remember. We did a Justin Bieber comic book, and the Justin Bieber comic book ended up, a lawyer contacted us and gave us a cease and desist. And what's ironic about this lawyer, that for Justin Bieber, it wasn't Justin Bieber's lawyer. So I also have props too. So which is
awesome. Fun. Yeah.
So we started doing biography comics in 2008. We started with Hillary Clinton and Sarah Palin. They took off, so they did really well for us. So then as we were doing them, because we did start off doing Jesse James. Do you remember 10th Muse?
Oh, I remember 10th Muse.
Yeah, created 10th Muse.
Oh, there you go.
24 years ago. So. Yeah.
And 10th Muse actually crossed over with what was
Savage
the other?
Dragon.
Yeah, but also no, you had another character like Athena that was like
Legend of Isis.
Legend of Isis.
Yeah, which we still have, and she's back now. And we've been doing both of these we started at Image Comics, and now we're still doing them today. And they did really, really well for us. So we did. So as we were doing these biography comic books, we ended up hitting up the people that did rock and roll comics back in the 90s. And so if you know anything about biography comic books, they've been around since the 50s. They did Bob Hope ones and Jerry Lewis ones and all that type of stuff. So we're just basically the next generation. And so as we hooked up with rock and roll comics, as now we are with Shawn, rock and roll comics, ended up getting sued by this lawyer, this merchandising lawyer, about the New Kids on the Block.
Yes.
And there's in that link that you saw, there's actually a link to the article that brings back the whole story of rock and roll comics and how they ended up fighting in court about the New Kids on the Block. And so what ended up happening is court set precedent that, I don't know if that
it's an old link. Yeah.
You can search for it, and it's really good reading because it ended up setting precedent that comic books can be in biography forms as long as you don't hit copyright or trademark infringement.
Right.
And as long as you do that, you are free reign to do anybody or anything. And as long as you also don't, show them in a bad light or that type of stuff, which is not my nature. My background is I worked in entertainment. I worked at Entertainment Television for 6 years in Lionsgate and USA Networks. So I learned the power of celebrity and all that type of stuff. So as 10th Muse and Vincent Price Presents and all these comics that I was doing through Diamond were not doing so well, we noticed that IDW was doing John McCain and Barack Obama as in the 2008 election. And so we thought, we do a lot of female empowerment books, 10th Muse, Isis, Judo Girl. So why not do Hillary Clinton and Sarah Palin? And so we did it from a female empowerment angle, because whether you liked one or the other, we really try to treat them, very fairly to where they got in their profession.
And if there's anybody, listen, let's be honest. If there's anybody that is gonna, that you don't want to upset, it's Hillary Clinton, right? I mean, that's Darren. That's one of the things that's being said about, like the Taylor Swift stuff.
And I have assigned one from Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. Oh, that's even better. That's even better.
So, and it's unauthorized. I have assigned one from Sarah Palin too. I have, So I have signed that Anne Rice one. I have signed Ellen DeGeneres. I have signed. So a lot of these women, we do. Some of them we work with. Some of them we don't. Some of the biographies we do, and we'll donate a proceeds to the nonprofit of their choice, and we'll also run ads for that nonprofit as well. We've been a little laxed on that lately. We did a Taylor Swift comic book, which kind of brings us back to working with Shawn. We did a Taylor Swift comic book probably 10 years ago. It was called Fame Taylor Swift.
Yep.
And at the time, Taylor Swift's manager was Britney Spears' boyfriend, Jason something or other. And I was repped by William Morris, or I believe it was William Morris, which was the same company that Taylor Swift and Britney Spears were. And so we were doing a Britney Spears biography, and we did a Taylor Swift one as part of the Fame series. And they were totally fine with it. I think they even both tweeted it out or whatever it was. And then going, 12, 14 years later, where we're doing this new Taylor Swift as part of the Female Force series, because we thought Taylor Swift at this point in her career has done so much for women, and she's a role model, and she's this. So we really wanted to tell Taylor Swift's story from a female empowerment angle, rather than just telling her biography, just her childhood biography.
Yes.
And so we did, and the book once again took off bigger than we thought. I'm really good at putting stuff out day and date with either birthdays, anniversaries, all that type of stuff. And so this happened to be with Taylor Swift's birthday in December 13th. So a month later, I a friend of mine, you know, a really good friend of mine, sends me a text saying, "Oh my God, did you see what this guy has said about you?" And I'm like, what? And I look, and it's Shawn. Shawn's talking smack about the comics, just like anybody else would. How could they do it? Why could they do it? Oh my God.
How's this legal?
Yeah, how is this legal? All this stuff. And so I had actually like 3 people send me Shawn's thing, and I wasn't friends with him on Facebook. So I did what I thought I should do. I reached out to Shawn and said, "Hey, if you want to know how to do these, I will show you how to do these. I will tell you, but my story is not a secret." And then we just formed this bond and this kinship and this friendship. And his vision took my vision even like twice as far, because we're not distributed to a lot of comic book stores anymore.
Yeah,
After I left Diamond really kind of screwed us over.
Get out of here.
I know. So we did the
Bryan, I don't know if we can handle this kind of controversy on the show tonight.
Yeah.
So we did this Justin Bieber. So we were getting traction back then, you know. And then Diamond Books, they thought they could get into bookstores and all this type of stuff. So they ended up getting us into Walmart. And we sold, I think, 40,000 copies into Walmart. We got 37,000 returns. And I kept asking them, "Where is this in Walmart? So nobody can find them." And they go, "Well, that's Walmart." And so that's when we were like,
I can guarantee you 35,000 of those cases were probably still sealed from your printer.
Yeah, and so they all got returned, and then I had to deal with the dollar store, and then Diamond screwed that up, and then Diamond wanted to charge us like $30,000, and I'm like, "Go fuck!" Oops, sorry, can I say that?
Yes, unfiltered.
And then we left, and you know, we embraced ebooks, and then all of a sudden, about 4 years ago, I decided to go more mainstream, and so we decided to sign in with Ingram. And so Ingram, we do most of our distribution with single issues and fiction books and nonfiction. We do about 10 books a month. The nonfiction stuff does so much better than the fiction stuff. And they do get national. They get national press too. We've been, you name it. You know, we have a new Shania Twain book coming out. You know,
Stormy Daniels.
Oh, so okay. Look, I have more props. So sorry, Shawn. So this is probably one of my favorite stories right now. So this comic book is actually, if you're watching any of the Hush Money trial, is actually evidence in the Hush Money trial. This comic book, they showed on they showed all the jurors and all that type of stuff. And the weird misnomer about that book is we didn't even work with Stormy Daniels on it. We did this book, and this is a true story, is that I ended up getting a call from Stormy Daniels' manager, who called and threatened me, yelled at me, said they're going to shut me down, all this stuff. And it was like kind of scary. And I do have good representation. So I called my manager. I'm like, "I'm really scared. I don't know what to do here. Oh my God." It wasn't even a cease and desist. It was like, "We're going to bludgeon you," kind of thing. And
from the people who brought you Michael Avenatti trying to shake down
Nike. So I thought everything was handled. Then that night, there's a call on my phone, Michael Avenatti's office. So I picked up the phone, and it's like, "Darren, this is Michael Avenatti." And I'm like, "What?" I'm bad at confrontation.
Sure.
I have people, so that will help.
You mean convicted convict Michael Avenatti?
He called me, and he's like, "You can't do this. This is her name." And then we literally looked, and so Stormy Daniels, she only had it trademarked for dancing. So, and now she's changed her name to actually legally be Stormy Daniels. So the best thing about this story is a year later comes by, they did nothing. The book came out. And then a year later, that same guy, who ended up turning out to be her boyfriend at the time, called me up, and he's like, "Hey, Darren, you know, Stormy really liked what you did on her book. You know, it didn't look like you were taking advantage of her, and you told her story really fair, and you weren't taking advantage of her." And I'm like, "Okay." So great.
Is
and
that-
they go, we want to work with you. I'm like, well, the book's a year old, so I don't know what to really do here. I go, what if we make it in, this was Political Power Stormy Daniels. So this is the one that's in evidence. So then, which the defense lied about, saying Stormy actually worked on it, which is super whatever. So then we renamed it Female Force Stormy Daniels. She did the forward to it. She actually edited it because there's a couple of like small little details that were not correct in her eyes. So we had her change it, do that type of stuff.
That feels like
And
the
then-
play, right? That's kind of the play is you know, to work with them if you can, right? And you know, everything we all win at this point.
Right.
Well, and just like Marat Michaels said, make sure you have a solid lawyer on speed dial.
Legal Shield, sponsored by, yeah. And I also have a manager who's just meaner than anything.
Right, sure.
So, but then it turned out that we really liked working with Stormy Daniels, and we're like, let's not stop. So we decided to do Space Force Stormy Daniels. And so we have a series, it's up to issue 11. And it's just very, you know, there's no nudity. It's very Barbarella meets Stripperella, kind of meets Star Trek. So it's super, just like this fun action adventure. Kind of, it plays a little bit on, you know, the TNA thing without going overboard.
Yeah.
So, and it's just, it's a fun book. So,
well, that's interesting that you're at least also creating new stories. You're writing, you know, it's a periodical, it's a comic book. There is new stories in these, which is very important also. So that's cool.
Well, and just speaking, Darren, we met Retailer Summits years ago. You wouldn't remember, but back in the Blue Water days, when you still bribed your way up onto the Retailer Summit stage for the 5 minutes while we were eating, I think.
I never went to a Retailer Summit.
Was it your brother then?
No.
Blue Water, or was that a Retailer Summit?
Was it? I don't know.
Yeah. No, because we were huge supporters with ISIS and
Thank you. I appreciate
10th
it.
Muse and all of the. I'll tell you what, they all sold very well. Robert Patterson, I think, was our best-selling one at the height of the Twilight MILFs.
See, and that's the thing, is that you said the perfect thing, is that Diamond nor a lot of other retailers got what we were doing with these biography things. And like with the Twilight ones, you know, we wanted retailers to pick them up and bring in new readership that would not normally.
It was for the norm.
Yeah.
Your book is literally my case study of what I do in retailing, which is you have to shoot for the normies.
Yeah, because it will bring. It's like when you ask the other guy, "What's your perfect comic book store?" You guys sell now pop figures. You sell all this stuff. It's now a pop culture, just like all Comic Cons are pop culture cons. We're just bringing, you know, more pop culture into it too, and you know, and I appreciate you picking the books up and getting what
my and I'm getting it from a standpoint, and I don't want you to take offense at this because I think you'll actually take a compliment out of this. You guys were like you had your IPs, and we talk about that constantly, but you also had this what I'll jestingly call ambulance chasing mentality about the celebrity books, but it was exactly what needed to be on those shelves, you know, but that also leads me to why you catch so much flack from these lawyers now, and especially with, you know, and if you could pull up that Taylor Swift, the one you had up there, I could see why these guys would be like, wait a second, why are we making nothing off of the 100th reprint of the Taylor Swift biography comic book?
What do you poo? What? I'm kidding.
well, no, but Marat, you know, we talked about this. There are some of your Taylor Swifts are right on the line, if not slightly over that line. The Wonder Woman cover is actually more, and I mean that's just straight up Supergirl, you know, with the Pentagon shield.
Yep.
You know, I mean,
but is there a line?
The colors are different. There's significant differences there.
Yeah, it's basically like any homage cover that anybody ever does. You know, we are very aware what we do. Dazzler does not have any, trademarks on her. She does not, we're going to drop a new Dazzler, one in a couple days, with the new Dazzler series that's starting up for Marvel in September. She is probably, there's more or less, there's a People magazine article today that just came out about pretty much how she's going to be basically playing Dazzler and what all the rumors are about it, from meeting with the directors and meeting with Kevin Feige and, being best friends with Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. There's so many.
They're actually getting ready to do a new Dazzler series that they're saying like the people that are reading it have said it's basically what if Taylor Swift was Dazzler, or what if Dazzler was Taylor Swift type deal. It's very, they're going to play that role, which is very interesting. But I have a question when it comes to that line. Do you
can you send a picture to the chats?
Oh, what's that?
Can you send a picture in the chats? I'm like,
yeah.
We're dropping the Terry Dotson cover probably tomorrow.
Okay, so do you reach out to Taylor Swift's team in any way at the beginning of this? Back when you had first started it. And no,
we did with the Fame series. We did not with this one, but we know we've heard from them.
Okay.
So there was only one cover out of every single cover that they had a problem with, and it was the Bedrock Comics cover that looked like the Eris poster. So it had like the 10 different boxes on it, and so with that one. So it's the 10 different boxes one.
I don't see it. It's probably not on here anymore. But
we ended up having to pull or redo for Bedrock Comics.
Okay.
Because they said that's the trademark, and they were fine with everything else in the book.
So do you is that a goal to get to that point with these IPs that you're doing this with? Or is it just, as long as we stay within the legal lines, we don't care what they think?
It depends. I've been busier lately, so I don't reach out as much to the celebrities. And as I said, we used to, run ads for now. So one of the things that we're doing in the Taylor Swift book, in which we told them as well, is we're running 3 ads for the Humane Society in the book. So, and that they were super happy with that. So we will do that. We got, I think the last season of Desist, that's actually the cover that was actually changed to be correct to make sure that they were happy. So we wanted to make sure that they're happy.
Yeah, hell
and
yeah.
The thing too is that like for somebody to be part of a female empowerment series, that's pretty good, because we do want to tell their story in that light. So we don't really want to I've been offered to do so many biographies that I turned down because I don't want.
You try to take that type of, you call it a light, like a positive, more of a positive flair than the drama flair, I guess that it would be otherwise.
Who's the biggest one you turned down?
Dennis Barger.
I think Ann Coulter. I think we turned down. We also do a lot of political books, and regardless of the side of the fence that you're on, you saw the Stormy Daniels one. We do every election cycle. It's something new. So this year we did a couple more Republicans than we did Democrats, and I think we did Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley. 4 years ago we did Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and we want these to be unbiased because at the end of the day, I want nobody to know who I vote for. And, but then you get these like weird things that happen. So hey Daniel, will you hand me the thing right there? So I'll show you guys. This is one of my favorites. So Fox News, as I said, I've been on Fox News many times, because we've done, as I said, both ends of the spectrum. And for some reason, we did a Jill Biden comic book, and as part of the Female Force series. It's not a First Lady series. it's female force. So we did, and we've done Trump, and we've done, you know, a lot of other people. So we ended up getting, this is my favorite. Hold on, let's see.
Oh, it's a Fox News.
So
That's
Fox News.
awesome.
So this was trending, and I was like, and I just sat there going, what idiot company is snubbing Melania Trump? And then I'm like, oh wait, that's us. And I literally had to sit back, because it ended up being on 5 of their programs. And I'm not going to say if I like Fox News or not, whatever. But at the end of the day, these people are slamming a comic book company when it's not true, because nobody asked us if we're doing the if we're doing Melania Trump comic book, and B, we've done so many, you know, conservative women, you know, Nancy Reagan, you know, we've done
Sarah Palin,
you know, Condoleezza Rice, even on the Laura Ingraham show, which she blasted us. Somebody had to turn around to her and go, oh, they did a comic on you. And so it just was very like, so we ended up having to write them a really stern letter.
Mm-hmm.
And this was literally about, I think, a year and a half ago. And they ended up having to do a retraction on air.
Did they do
because
it?
We're in the Dominion suit, and they didn't want to get sued again.
And so they did it?
This was literally false information.
They actually did the retraction?
They did, and then they
Wow.
did. And anyway, so, but they did it. It was fine, you know. I got what?
So I gotta ask you a hard question here.
Go for
We've been throwing you softballs. Let's throw you a hard
Go
ball.
hard. I got my wine now.
There you
Already
go.
unfiltered, right?
Okay. Yeah.
We're
yeah,
on
we
the
are
filtered.
unfiltered.
Yes.
So I guess the question is, as a retailer, I get it. If I do something with you, and you did send me an invite, I've looked through your email. I responded a couple of days ago. You're assuming all responsibilities legally, no matter what. So Shawn's doing these covers. You are assuming legal responsibilities.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. I remember your email, and you said, "Oh, yeah." Once again, so just going back to the whole, I kind of fell out of that story. So the Justin Bieber, and so the lawyer that was suing me for the Justin Bieber and Lady Gaga thing ended up being the same lawyer that sued Rock and Roll Comics in the 90s for the same exact thing.
New Kids on the
And
Block
they
thing.
had an axe to grind with Rock and Roll Comics. So that's the only reason they came after us. And he was not a lawyer for Justin Bieber, and he was not a lawyer for Lady Gaga. He was a lawyer for their shoelaces, to have shoelaces on there. And so what happened is the guy from Rock and Roll Comics, I confided in him about a cease and desist I got, and he tweeted about it or talked about it or something, whatever it was. And then it just ended up getting national attention. And big Yahoo News, AOL News, all these like news organizations at the time were picking up the story and not even fact checking the fact that I actually, you know, that it was so untrue. And so I ended up having to do an interview with MTV that basically told my side of it, which is where I sent it to Shawn and, you know, tonight. And I was like, no, I'll just go on. I'll just do this. So, because it just doesn't make sense. It's like the lawyer was not even their lawyer.
Well, so the thing about this is that I didn't realize when I read it is that this is an old letter. This is from 2016, and it feels like it could even work today still. Have you about how many cease and desist letters have you received for the comic books through the years?
So the last one we got one on Billie Eilish, which we received probably about 4 or 5 months ago, and ironic. So literally a cease and desist literally is just a letter. It's their lawyer's job. You know, we got one on Beyonce a long time ago, and it's the lawyer's job to see something and send a cease and desist.
Sure.
You know, what we do is I have my manager, Susan, who will turn around and explain, we are not doing anything copyright infringement. We are not using your trademarks or copyrights, song lyrics, or anything. We are literally telling the story also in a positive light as well.
Well, that's my point that I wanted to get to. So you answered the first question. Mm-hmm. So it's about the story. right? You keep on talking about this story.
Yeah.
So what does multiple covers do when you start doing multiple covers? Now it appears, and I'm asking you straight on this appears now as a cash grab and no longer about the story. So what's the answer to that?
The human society still makes money off of it. And just like literally I came in. So when I met Shawn, I looked at all these retailer exclusives and the do you poos and all this stuff. I looked at it as, what? Yep. I don't get it. You print 100 copy. I did not understand it or comprehend it, but it is the new nature of the comic book industry has changed. It is shifting, and I am now shifting with it.
Okay.
You're having fun with it.
But what is that line? Is there a line of how much you make off a story based on what we're talking about, Taylor Swift or whatever? Is there a line that you have to worry about making too much money on it?
Well, and Jesse, can I just chime in as well on the back end of your comment? Emmett was in the chat. Emmett's a good friend of ours here at the show. And he chimed in and said, oh, it's parody. You can get away with anything parody. But it's not parody. Yours is exactly not parody. Yeah. So you don't get blanketed in that we're just doing parody like Do You Poo.
Yes.
I've also seen
that's important. That's very important.
I've seen some. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just saying, Darren, that's very important what he just said, that difference, because that's something that's very neat, that needs to be known, because of you're doing the way comics is now, especially in the retailer incentive game, where you have all these retailers getting in, and these retailers are counting on you as to have everything be on the up and up. And that's what why we have you on today, Darren, is so we can, all these questions are being asked, and you're right, that is the current time of comics. So it's very important to say that, no, these aren't parody covers necessarily. No. These are, biographies. So
like an example, I'm just using the Shania Twain one for an example. So if there cannot be a photo, nobody can just take a photo of Shania Twain and just copy it and we just do that. And it can't just be changed 10% or anything like that. It really has to be its own image. And that's kind of what we do. And one of the things that I love about Shawn is everything that we've been doing with him. He is so aware. And there's almost like a little bit of like, is this right? Can we do this? And we even talked about one that we have upcoming today. That would be bad to do. And we're like, yep, that would be bad. And I've seen some of the covers come because I do want to, support the retailers that we work with. And we want them to have the best cover that they have. And we want that to sell for them. And so I'm going to do everything in my power from my knowledge to make sure that we're not stepping into copyright infringement or trademark. And we've had to change certain things, and people have taken things and just, I can actually see this was a copied photo, because legally photographers, and I made this mistake once, photographers own the rights to their photography. We did for Free Comic Book Day, Lady Gaga, we got nailed on that one. And that was like, I want to say it was like 2010. And we got totally nailed on that by, I think it was Corbis or one of the
publishing,
the photo companies.
Gotcha.
And so they nailed us on it, and they were right. And so at that point I learned, even inside the comic book. So if we're at like, the president's, whichever president's, inaugural ball, we cannot just copy a picture from that. We have to take it from a different angle. Or if we're on a movie set, we can take it from a different angle, but we can't copy actually a photo.
I got to be honest about that real quick, because the fact that you're saying this stuff it makes me have more respect for what it is you're doing, because right now in comics, in the comic book world, there's this thing going on, especially with AI art and these 3D character models that you can get on the internet, where people aren't even drawing anymore. They're just taking these character models, they're buying them to use, they're throwing them in there, and it's not even original anymore, which one that doesn't feel right to me. It smells of cheesiness, right? And that kills the industry, right? If you're saying, yes, we have to change it, we want to change it, that's very important to give people the okay to buy the issues, because that's the second thing, is that a lot of people are buying these issues as quote unquote collectibles, right? And there is a secondary market for these collectibles, and comics have always had that. And when there's a reason for somebody to go, oh wait, then these aren't worth what I paid for them anymore, or they've devalued, that causes a big ripple in the industry, and that can happen based on that art that you're talking about.
Yeah, 24 years. I have mad respect for this industry. My first comic book that I launched at number 6, beating, if it wasn't for Battle Chasers, which I was repping Joe Madureira at the time, I would have been number 5.
Wait, whoa. Wait,
we
you're
gotta talk
the
about
reason
this.
I didn't, what? You're the reason I didn't finish Battle Chasers 24 years ago?
Probably.
You couldn't make Joe do 5 less conventions and finish that last issue.
Oh, I didn't make him do any convention.
Ago.
Hey, I was getting him jobs. Do you remember PSM Magazine?
Yeah.
I was in charge of, like, if you look, like, from when I first started comic books. So I don't know if you even know this. I used to work at Wildstorm. So I started at Wildstorm. I was working at Entertainment Television and all that stuff. And then Wildstorm doubled my salary. And so I'm like, okay, I guess I'll do comic books. And I never wanted to work in comic books ever. And I collected. I was in line for Jim Lee's autograph probably 3 years before for the Deathmate tour or whatever it was.
Right.
And now I'm working with him one-on-one. And so I was working in the consumer products division, or consumer, not products, but we were getting people jobs outside of the comic book industry. And so I was their rep doing all this type of stuff. And so we were doing the PSM stuff. We were doing like Resident Evil, the comic book.
Yeah, the Sienkiewicz, the magazines.
And what ended up happening is when DC took over, I went over to DC. I worked there for about a year, and they couldn't really figure out what to do with me because they had a consumer products or whatever division. And then they wanted me to edit Star Trek books. And I'm like, I am not an editor. I am not doing this. This is no. And I was living up in LA at the time, and they wanted me to move to San Diego. I was like, I'm not doing this. So I just took so I talked to Joe Mad, and I'm like, and he's like, you be my agent and we'll do this on ourselves. So I just started getting him jobs outside of comic books. I was responsible for trying to get Battle Chasers into a movie. And then I started representing, because I wasn't tied to just Joe or DC anymore. I got to represent all the Top Cow artists, getting Andy Park and Randy Green and all that type of stuff. And that's how 10th Muse. Then I was actually offered to start IDW, and I turned it down. So stupidly, they wanted me to So all the people in my division, they all basically started IDW. Chris Prisco and Ted Adams. And so I ended up just being a rep for them. And we were Alex Sinclair and I were doing DVD menus and all the stuff. So that's where I learned how to make a comic book. And so that's why, when I launched 10th Muse, it literally, I hired Ken Lashley, who was just getting off of Rising Stars, and I hired Marv Wolfman to write. So I had Randy Green do all the concept designs, and we hired Sable from the WWE to be the photo model. So we tried really doing things differently, and not just a celebrity book, but we wanted to have a really good story and art behind it. So that was Cindy Margolis. Yeah. So we had her for a while.
Yeah. And then
I forgot about Alias.
Yeah. Alias.
Alias. Yeah. That was fun.
Not to derail. 5 minutes. Not to derail.
What did they last? 2 years, 3 years top?
I think 3 years. We did a lot of things. That's Andy Park.
We can hear you, Sean. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, cool. not to derail things, but he got some amazing guys to do covers for that PlayStation magazine.
Yes. Oh yeah.
You said Hughes, right? You got some of these guys.
Yeah, I got Adam Hughes' first Tomb Raider job ever. I was just I just was the it person to do all the stuff. And I was lucky because I secured them as a client. So it would It would. That was a swimsuit edition. I don't know if I worked on that one
Pinup
with
art.
him, but it was like a cover image.
I love all these old school covers. I remember
Yeah,
when
there's that one right there. I'm like pointing at it. The Naughty or Nice one.
Yeah.
But I have all of them. You know, Mike Ringo.
Mike Ringo. Yeah.
So when I started at Image Comics, it was going to be we launched 10th Muse, we launched the Dolls, which was Randy Green's.
Right.
We were going to do something with Mike Ringo, and then we also had Black Tide. So
rest in peace. Yeah. Rest in peace to Mike Ringo.
I wonder how much that goes for now.
People love looking for these old school magazines, especially cover art chasing, you know.
So you guys kind of asked a good question, and you know, like when I guess kind of a different way to phrase the question is when are too many variants of the same book too many, I guess. Right, kind of
that was the question
trying to get at.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you know, I don't know, I feel like, so on one side this is uncharted territory, really, when you think about it. No one has done this is a new phenomena, having these biography books done at such a multitude of covers with so many variants. Me and Darren have had many talks about this, and we both kind of feel like everything is still, I mean, everything is legit, or we wouldn't still be doing. You know,
But Shawn, I recall back to a time when you were saying that it matters what's on the inside. Mm-hmm. And at a certain point, after variant cover number 100 of Taylor Swift, even you guys realized we need to make a Taylor Swift part 2.
No, that's actually not true. It wasn't the 100 covers at that point. It was
I'm being facetious with the 100 covers. But it could be 20 covers, 30 covers at a certain point.
But so Taylor Swift 2 happened because I thought there was more story to tell. And I do think that we've done 3 Lady Gagas, we've done 2 Michelle Obamas. You know, we've done more than just once, because also they've aged out. We've done 3 on Taylor Swift, if you want to actually be.
But Darren, the argument was from Shawn to another gentleman on the show, James, that it's about what's inside. But if you're just caring about the cover art, then almost it becomes an art book, no matter what's on the inside of it. And that's, I think, what Bryan and Jesse.
Hold on, time out. You just said it becomes an art book, doesn't much on the inside. That's not true.
Well, I mean, you can think it does, but I mean, to a lot of the people buying it who are just buying it for the cover, it does become I don't even care what's on the inside. I want this cover art.
Yeah, because it's collectible.
Hold on.
Right?
And since you're just recycling the same inside, the same guts, it doesn't matter. You're just creating a new piece of art to sell on the cover, which is the same as the art book model, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of people.
Well, not at all. The art book model is, it's a flawed premise on the first part. You're starting from the premise of, if you print more, what you're saying basically is, if you print more than one cover of a insides, you have an inside book. More than one cover turns it into, it doesn't matter, it might as well be an art book.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when you resurrect a 10-year-old book and then print however many covers.
Yeah, I think that's weird.
But nobody's done that.
I have two statements off of that.
Darren, he just said nobody's done that, but you did resurrect a 10-year-old book and slap a new cover on it and then sold multiple covers.
Which one?
No.
Taylor Swift?
Taylor Swift.
No, that actually came out December 13th this year.
When did the first Taylor Swift come out?
10 years ago. It's a different book. It's called Fame. It has nothing to do. It's basically her childhood.
No guts are the same?
No, not at all. Different artist, different writer. 22 new pages are in the December 13th book.
Yeah, that's what we were saying earlier. Yeah,
It's not
the
the same
fact
book.
that
You can Google it.
I think going back to
I'll
it,
believe you on that. I'll believe you on that.
I think going back to it is just important to comic books and retailers and the art form, because in all reality, I think a lot of us feel like the retailer incentive model hurts the industry
So
for a whole. So and by that, it's important for us to have, if you're going to do that, use that model, that retailer incentive model, at least keep the book a comic book, a periodical, news stories, art, the way an American comic book is, which, by the way, both Shawn and James have done since that conversation. Shawn's been very instrumental at talking to very many people about how important it is to do that. You're doing that with Double Impact. James is doing that with his new stuff. Darren has been doing it since the beginning. That's why we wanted to have him on to explain this, right? Because we don't know. We can't read everything, obviously, but we try.
So Taylor Swift #2 just came out, I would say 3 weeks ago.
Well,
and
it's
this one.
all
All new cover. It's a sequel. All new cover, and we went because I wanted to do something different with this. So we talk about her philanthropy, and we do it more. I wanted to be it a little more manga style because I wanted it for a different audience. So you don't have to pick up the first one without picking up the second one. But that's why we did it. And just 2 points is, one is that I look at all, because I'm a fan too. I collect comic books, all that type of stuff. Is that I look at, and I've been looking at this for a while, all like the retailer variants for Batman. And you're like, there's 100 of them. So why not?
Right. But Darren, let's just say a new Batman came out this week.
Mm-hmm.
It's written by John Smith and it's art by Mark Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And how disappointed would you be in DC, a company that you've had a relationship that you're still a fan of, clearly based on your back wall, if they just took that book, that Batman #1 by Smith and Jones, and just re-released it every month with a new cover by 5 different new artists, and just put that on the shelf for 6 months?
But that's not what we do. That's not anything.
No, hold on. It is kind of what you do. You've had, so December 13th was Taylor Swift Part 2, or Part 1.
Part 1.
Which is
Female Force,
the second volume of Taylor Swift from 10 years ago.
Yes. No.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Different story.
It's volume Taylor Swift volume 2.
Sure. Okay.
Technically, I'm just trying to get the vernacular, so we're talking about the same thing. Did you release all of the variant covers that were ever made of Taylor Swift volume 2 on December 13th, or have other editions been printed over the last 6 months?
Over the last 6 months, there's probably been like a handful, but not many.
But I'm also out on December 13th. You rehashed that issue, that December issue.
Yes, that's been used multiple
times. Does he say second prints,
covers.
third prints? Do you do that?
Yes, no.
Because there are because we do have new retailers. So this whole new retailer thing for me is super brand new.
Yeah.
And I'm learning.
But that's what I'm saying, though.
Right, totally. And I'm listening. I hear what you say. So that's why, like, Shawn and I are, I'll just say it out now. We're talking about the next books. Mike Tyson is the next book that we're doing. Am I really focused? Yeah, I'm doing a fun Taylor Swift one, only because of the Dazzler thing. That is the only reason why I'm pushing another Taylor Swift out there. If it wasn't for that, and that's fun for me, to be perfectly honest. It's fun.
Yeah.
So but is Shawn going to do another round of, Taylor Swift's based off of issue #1? No, that's done. We did the Michael Jordans. We're doing the Metallica. He's looking at some of our back catalog stuff too. That's some of the stuff that we're trying to do. Michael Jordan, and a lot of these retailers, I am asking them who they would like to see too. I wouldn't have done a Mike Tyson book, but retailers want that. And so am I going to offer it in 6? People are able to do anything off our back catalog because it is a lot of our biographies are evergreen. But I'm not going to be pushing, do Taylor Swift, do Taylor Swift, do Taylor Swift. It's not my MO. And I don't have a.
You're not going to keep going back to the same well.
But Darren, it might not be your MO, but it's the MO of a lot of people at a certain level of the variant cover game who are gonna want. If Robert Patterson died tomorrow and somebody called you up and said, "Dude, slap a cover of Robert Patterson tomorrow on your old book," if we hadn't have this conversation, you'd probably say, "Yeah, sure."
Oh no, I would put two or three pages new in it and release it as tribute.
Absolutely.
Been there, done that. Done it before. We had the Nancy Reagan comic book out before she was even in the ground.
So a couple of things here. So in your analogy, Dennis, you're also comparing apples to oranges. Like we could have this is a whole nother in-depth conversation.
Comment. That's a cliche comment.
Well, let me finish. So what you're saying is you made a comparison to monthly periodical like Batman. What if it was released over and over and over again? Well, what would happen is the market wouldn't buy it. They wouldn't continue to buy Batman number 482, whatever you want to say. Oh, it's the same issue again next month. Same issue again next month. Same issue again next month. The market would dictate and say, "This is stupid. We want a new Batman story," and they would not buy it. If retailers weren't selling multiple the Metallica covers, I just did that book was released probably 10 years ago. I said, "Oh, you have a Metallica comic you did? Awesome. I want to do a Metallica set of it." We resurrected a book from almost 10 years ago, and I did a whole new brand new cover set for it with the same interiors. We maybe changed a couple ads in it. If that doesn't sell, guess what? I'm not going to do that again. If the market decides they like that,
but
we'll
to quote Jeff
again.
Goldblum, you saw what others were doing. You didn't ask if you should do it. You just went and did it.
I think Shawn was kind of excited about, the thing that I love about Shawn is he gets excited about even our back catalog. I've done 1,600 comic books. Is anybody doing 10th Muse #1 variants? No. People are doing stuff that is evergreen.
Darren, I would do a 10th Muse fucking #1 variant.
This is the indie universe, and it's much different than Marvel and DC. How many? Remember when look at back in the death metal days when every issue of Metal had 35 retailer variants. There probably haven't been 35 Michael Jordan variants.
But I will tell you this from the game that I played, which was if I called Marvel up and if they weren't doing a second print of something, I was not getting a variant on week 3 or week 5. I guarantee you, because I also contacted them to do a Black Panther on the third print of issue 3, and they shot me down because they weren't going to third print on it.
I've done hundreds of Marvel and DC variants. I know exactly how that works too. 100%.
Yeah, but you could do a Rihanna one.
But that's the point, though.
You do Rihanna. Yeah.
But that's the point, Shawn. You know that even Marvel says, "Yeah, no, we shut that down."
How do they do that? They put out facsimiles. And reprints, right?
The reason those are usually 10 to 20 years after the fact.
The reason they do that is because they go to the printer at one shot. They have time booked on these giant printers up in Canada so they can get their covers at 25 cents or 15 cents or 5 cents a cover. So that's why retailer variants have to do 3,000 to get them, because they're not going to let you reprint a book because it's not cost effective for them to do it. They're not going to go back to the printer and order a 3,000 print run. They'd have to charge you double the amount for them to make their profit margin they have to make.
Right.
And so you swim down to the...
Hold on. So the other reason is you can't make, I guess my problem I'm having thinking listening to this conversation is we shouldn't make exclusives and variants so easy to get. Right. So that's my point. So, Shawn, when you say they do 3,000, do you know how many stores nationwide can afford 3,000?
Well, yeah, hardly any. That's why they're doing partnerships now.
That's exactly. So if we continue to do, Darren, if you continue to do, I guess because I've known Shawn for a long time, I respect Shawn. We're very good friends. When he does something, I really don't question it. But some of these exclusives I see done by Johnny Smith out of his kitchen.
I'm very.
That's.
Guys.
Okay. There are guys that have done stuff that aren't in the industry that have done some of your covers.
I don't care if they're in the industry. I'm going to give somebody a fair shot. I think people deserve a fair shot if they want to do art. You know,
if they don't have a business license, they don't have a store, you're okay doing business with
them.
Oh,
wait. Yeah, I mean, I was talking artist-wise. I thought you were saying an artist.
Yeah, no, we're talking about small press, small publishing.
Retailers.
I've made my mistakes. I'm just learning, too.
Well,
you know, Shawn is also walking me through a lot of stuff.
By the way, real quick, I want to say I respect that to be able for you to say, hey, this is new to me. I'm just learning in this.
Yeah, and we're just trying to. We're also being a little harsh, Darren, because let me just tell you, I have nothing but the utmost respect for your publishing history.
Yeah, and
I've supported it.
Let me make this point real fast. When I saw Shawn doing Taylor Swift, I was on board. Right, I was like, man, I'm gonna get a hold of you. But then I started seeing companies do this that don't have stores. Technically don't even have a warehouse.
Who's that one guy?
Jesse, I'm going to throw this right. And just to kind of reiterate to you.
Right.
So Jesse, you have a store.
Right.
When was the last time you bought one of my comic books in your store? They're available through Comics Distro. They've been available through Ingram. They're not through Diamond or Lunar. But when have you?
So let me ask you this question. Me and you are talking about me buying comics from you as we speak. Totally. I just emailed you back. So I wouldn't go on our past. I would go on our future. So my future question is, what have you installed to ensure that retailers are the ones that are doing your books? Because they're the ones that they're going to mandate prices a little bit better. You know, you go some of these guys, they're 3 times more than Shawn, right? So,
and it goes back to Jesse. It goes back to what Dan Mendoza was saying earlier in the show. He started cutting back on some of the people he would allow to do in his variants,
right? Because
they were gouging the customer,
right?
And the customer is his fan.
So, as of today, what would be your answer to that question?
I'm still learning. Everybody that I've worked with have paid their bills. So, yes, Shawn.
Go ahead, Shawn.
So, how many Department of Truth variants and Something's Killing the Children variants and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle variants were done or have been or still currently being done? There are so many people out there that partner up. They put their logo on the back of books. They don't have brick and mortars. They don't have business licenses. They don't have EINs. They're dudes out of their kitchen.
No. On Department of Truth?
He's saying variants.
Department of Truth, image titles. Yep. How many of these stores get together and form a group, and Joe Blow will host it? Let's say Comics Elite host it, and Bryan McClay could get on my cover.
But Image went through Diamond for its variants. So one of those kitchen guys had to have a real storefront with a real Diamond account. Image went direct.
Dennis, let Shawn finish this.
Yeah, and that's not always true. It's first off, it's super easy to get a Diamond account. Anybody can do it. It's not hard. And secondly,
but to get a Diamond account, you have to have an EIN number. You have to have a tax resale license.
Well, okay, that's super easy to get. There's not a brick and mortar.
It's still a hurdle.
You can be a very small hurdle. So if that's your standard, so Dennis, my point is this, right? Is that if you're going to try to hold Darren to a standard of
you need
to make sure these guys have stores, guys in the kitchen should not be doing your covers. You shouldn't do this.
Well, I never said kitchens. That was Jesse.
Whatever. A small guys that don't have real stores. That you
Darren, call your lawyer. Stores. Call your lawyer. I want a replay on that one.
Guys, whoever Dennis deems is not a real store.
So first of all, Jesse is the one that brought that comment up, and now you're just your hatred of me, Shawn, is a little transparent right now.
The consensus I'm hearing. Okay, so then here's your opportunity to, if I misspoke, I don't want to misrepresent you or your opinion. Please feel free to clarify.
So you think that Jesse asked the question?
Okay.
I added to the end of the question, which was from our conversation earlier in the show about cutting back on some retailers that are gouging customers, doing these super short print run weird variants that they want to charge $100 for on their webpage, which doesn't have anything to do with the interior guts of the book. I mean, I think we can all agree on that, right?
Well, yeah. So yes,
and especially if it doesn't have third printing from December 13th of 2024 listed on it. Okay. So there are a lot of things that are troubling about maybe the current model that Darren is allowing to happen under his tutelage. Okay. And that some people, maybe even Shawn, have taken advantage of for their particular publishing, retail publishing, whatever. We have to come up with a name for that, by the way, Bryan. The retail publisher level, like Comics Elite and all the other guys that do a lot of variants.
Like comics,
retailers.
We all know the
retailers
names.
and brick and mortar shops. That's the best way to put it. Unfortunately,
I've made more money off Unknown Comics than I have with any other retailer, and that I've even more than I've sold. Like,
and that's right in the chat. Right in the chat.
Are you?
Emmett from Haven of Heroes
brings up Epic, but are you ever worried that there is people out there that their check cashes like everybody else, but your brand is now affiliated with this person that might not be on the up and up? Are you ever worried about that?
Are you talking about Epic Nation?
Of course.
Yeah.
Is that what we're all talking about?
Well, that's what
it just came up. It just came up in the chat.
We were kind of going around.
I don't care.
No, I wasn't going around, but Dennis, you came in and you just moved it over here. So it's a very simple question.
Darren, I've heard of the nightmare stories of Epic Nation.
Forget about Epic Nation.
Okay.
The question is to you. What is your goal? Is your goal to sell to someone whose check is going to cash, or are you looking for brand to brand recognition? That's all I was asking.
I'm looking for brand to brand recognition. I want at the end of the day, yes, I want to make money. It's a business.
Of course.
I want to have fun while we're doing this. Shawn makes this fun. Some of the retailers that I'm working with have been super fun to work with. And there's JJ's from JJ's and Collectibles and all this stuff. He has opened my eyes as well, as well as Shawn. Shawn and JJ have taught me a lot of things about this industry. I'm learning a lot more because things are changing. I'm able to pay my artists more money now because we're making more money now. And my writers too. And, at the end of the day, I want to tell good stories and I want to have people read our books. So I had one retailer who literally, and I won't name him, just come to me and sign a deal with me to do a bunch of books because he was tired of printing stuff that nobody read. And so that is what I want.
That's important.
I don't care if people are collecting all the Taylor Swift ones and this and this and that.
Sure.
I want people to at least have read the book. Just as I would collect all the Batgirl stuff in the world. I want them to read the book and enjoy it at the end of the day.
Yeah, and the reason why I asked you direct is because you're the publisher. I know Shawn's a publisher as well, and Shawn has his opinion on people that don't have license, and I get all that. But if I'm going to do business with you, I need to really know the brands that you work with and what standards. If Shawn is working with you, then I'm going to work with you. But then I also have to look at the other brands. And sometimes I look at the other brands and I scratch my head.
I don't know who, I'm too new.
I will email you after the show and just get your opinion on them because these guys don't have business license yet they have exclusives with.
Just so you're aware, I have done exclusives with people that I've cut out because Shawn has sort of helped me. And
there you go.
Shawn literally, he's my godfather.
There you go.
and that's where I do go. Shawn and I talk a lot. And, it's just not like, oh, he's doing Taylor Swift comics. Oh, there he goes, done, whatever. We're always thinking, who's the next? What's the next? What's the next? And, and I ask him, who should we do? Who should we do? And I've asked a lot of retailers, who do you want to see? Right. And, is a Rihanna book going to do really well? Maybe, maybe not. But you know what?
Yes.
Or Megan Thee Stallion. So
Rihanna will do well. Yeah, Rihanna would do well for sure.
One quick question: when you say rock and roll, are you saying revolutionary comics or Okay, revolutionary comics.
Okay, well, I wanted to bring up one topic while I had you on tonight, Darren.
Sure.
And it is the Great Heart Fisher and the Jeffrey Dahmer debate. I just want to squeak this one in here.
Is this because I'm gay?
No.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
No.
Everybody went.
All gazy people.
Hart
Everybody
Fisher
went, oh,
is
God.
the guy who capitalized on the Dahmer incident. And he got dragged into court, much like this. And I just saw him on a podcast a month or two ago talking about this. And he is an absolute beast when it comes to, no, fuck them. I made the comic book I wanted to make and blah, blah, blah. And I just think that it's kind of where that, I guess if you want to set your baseline at Hart Fisher, everything else.
I'm evidence in the hush money trial. Okay.
There you go.
No, I remember Diamond, because they were trying to figure us out. Like, what do we do with biographies, all this stuff? And so we did an Infamous series, and I think we did Lindsay Lohan and we did Charlie Sheen because that's what they wanted to see. And they were kind of slimy books, and I only did the 2, and I was like, I can't. We continued it with the Tiger King during COVID, but that was fun. But otherwise, I don't want to do the Jeffrey Dahmer things. I don't want to tell the stories of Amy Fisher or, I think there was a time for that in the 90s, but I don't think there's a time to tell like, oh, I want to tell whatever the hell's going on now. So the story of COVID.
The Idaho 4.
I don't want to do that. It's not my forte. As I said, I grew up in a town where I saw the Muppet movie being filmed. Okay, so they filmed it right outside my elementary school. Place where Wonder Woman is filmed.
Drop everything. I want to hear about the Muppet movie.
Muppet movie. Okay, elementary school, Westlake Elementary School in California. They're picture it, Sicily. Yeah. They pulled out. The part where they're going to move in right along. That was right outside my elementary school.
Fancy.
I got to meet Jim Henson. They brought us all out. I got to hold Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy, met Frank Oz. It was like literally like a child. Like I love the Muppets. So
do you have pictures of that?
My God, you buried
no cameras back then. I did not have my cell phone.
You don't need cell phones.
You buried the lead tonight. We could have talked
know.
about the Muppet movie for an hour.
I think just to wrap this up real quick, I want to say something. I think that there is something that that's very interesting that has changed my mind since I started doing content on YouTube, and that this idea of gatekeeping, right? For the longest time, I thought gatekeepers were cheesy. I thought that you didn't need gatekeepers, that, anybody can come in and do it. And if you didn't like it, it was just something different. But I think that in certain ways, there is some bit of gatekeeping that's necessary. And by that, in this situation, I think that for the retailer comic and LCS thing is changing so rapidly that we only have maybe less than 1,500 comic book stores in the country, and we talk about how important comic book stores are to grow. The seed is planted, you grow it in a comic book store, you water it in a comic book store, and how important that was for us as kids. And it's dying, man. It's dying fast. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I just think that it's still a good thing to keep these stores around, and it's changing so rapidly that a lot of those LCS stores are being left out of things. And the retailer exclusive model, I don't think helps. I used to think it was great for comics no matter what, but I feel like at this point it could be, hurting at some ways. And we've had guys like Shawn on, we've had other guys on that have changed my mind on that because they've changed their mind on that. And to see you come on and do that, I've said it a couple more times, I'm going to say it a couple more times, for you to come on and go, I'm new at this, I'm learning, I think that's important to do. And some bit of gatekeeping to go on. I want to know all your guys' thoughts on gatekeeping in the industry, just a short bit of it. Dennis, what are your thoughts on gatekeeping in comic book industry?
And let me just tell you, Darren, from my heart, I've loved supporting you all these years. I kind of walked into this, and Jesse and Brian will attest to this, as, oh, let me at this Blue Water guy. You know what? What?
We changed our name because of a TV show deal, and we did it stupidly. We got a TV show deal for Insane Jane, and then we couldn't be called Blue Water, so we had to change it really quick. So I changed it to Stormfront. Then Bleeding Cool, because Stormfront is a white supremacist group, which I had as a
well, he had a deep dive on that one, didn't he?
And hold on. So I had a business with Alex and Claire, and it was Stormfront Entertainment, and it was before that was the white supremacist group thing. And so we had this, and then I needed a quick logo to change the name, so I changed it to that. And then Bleeding Cool got all into it, which there's...
I can't believe you chose Tidalwave. Don't you know tsunamis killed people in Japan?
Oh, please, I got that too. But So we went from Blue Water to Stormfront to Storm, and that's the stupidest name. And then I just went back to what we did 24 years ago at Image, and we went back to Tidalwave. So,
all right, Dennis. Gatekeepers in the industry. What do you think?
Well, no, and like I said, I wanted to like, go at it, but throughout our talk here for the last hour and a half, it's occurred to me how much your books have meant for me capturing a customer base of normies that I've now converted my entire business model to a no new comics business model. Yeah. And but I actually see a benefit of putting Blue Water back into my normie. What? Tidalwave. I'm going to call you Blue Water. Fuck you. I'm still waiting for my last issue of fucking Battle Chasers. Okay. So I live in the past, Darren. But yeah.
All right. Gatekeeping, Dennis.
But I see a necessity for this in the current market, but as well as I want to see it handled more responsibly. Just in this last discussion, I think Brian is absolutely right. There does need to be a level of gatekeeping to keep our industry expanding, but also from falling out. Every person that a certain, I'm not going to use the word retailer, screwed over is a person we lose in this industry. Every person that pays $100 for a variant that gets re-released a week later for $20 from another retailer, we lose a person every once in a while. So
really quick, just when you say the different variant. So somebody also mentioned to me or put into perspective that these variants are basically the prints now from conventions. Is nobody reads the books. People are just going to buy the prints, and this is just a more legal way for them to do it. So
yeah. Art fans and collectibles. Yep. Jesse, what about?
I think it's so ridiculous that that people can draw Spider-Man and sell it at a convention and just hang it up on their wall, and they can do prints of it. I think that's copyright infringement, to be honest.
Jesse, what do you think about gatekeeping in the comic book industry?
So, four of us are experiencers in this industry as a whole. Our job is to not only protect our brands, which is probably our number one job, but it's also to protect the community, our fellowship in retailers, and also the buyers across the board. And I think as gatekeepers, we need to find ways to work together. Listen, Darren, coming on a show live is different than reading something from you, right? I can see your passion in getting these books out. Mm-hmm. I can see your passion in saying, hey, these are the next 10 books out. I do them on people's birthdays. There's a reason for it. So I think gatekeepers right now in the social world have to get out socially to get their points across. I will make decisions if I do something with your business on a lot of criteria, right? But now that I've listened to you, I can make those decisions much easier. So I think gatekeepers go out, they talk about our great tradition, our great culture, and they bring it all together as one into a project.
Shawn, what do you think?
I think, and again, all this is very subjective.
Yes.
I think as long as the keeper, the key master, right, whatever, as long as their intentions are good and they're looking out for what's going to be better overall for the industry, I think gatekeeping it's a necessity. Like we talked about a little earlier, either we police ourselves or someone else is going to do it that may not be as pretty, I mean, you could call what I try to do with the art books and some of the IP stuff gatekeeping, trying to stop these guys from doing certain things that I saw weren't good for the indie side of the community. I also see it from both sides. Like for example, I'll talk about Epic, for example. So as a retailer, I've heard all about what he's done. I've seen the shows. I've seen Thoro's shows. I've seen your shows, Brian. I've seen them on your shows. I think he's not good for the industry. As a retailer, let's go on the putting on my publisher hat. If somebody contacts me and says, "Hey, I heard you have a cool comic. I'd like to do a variant with it." Am I required to do my homework and do research on this guy and Google him and say, "Oh, this person doesn't like him," or "This guy did a shitty thing," or "This guy did a bad thing. I can't work with this person." And then how do I tell that person, "Hey, I heard you got a lot of bad press about you and you've screwed some people over potentially." And then they're going to come back with, "No, I didn't. That's a bunch of lies. I did this. I did this." So as a publisher, I'm supposed to be the person that makes a decision on who I do and do not work with based upon what other people have said, and they're telling me something else. So now I'm judge, jury, and executioner. So I see it from both sides. As a publisher, it's very difficult to say, "Hey, a lot of people told me bad things about you, so yeah, I'm not going to work with you." And this guy's ready to write me checks that are going to cash and promote my product and sell my books, right? So it's difficult as a publisher to tell people I'm not working with them. You know what I mean? So.
Shawn, but integrity is what you do when no one's watching, man. Do you know how many people I've told to take their money and shove it up their ass because I don't want to work with them?
You're not a publisher. It's different. Image. If Epic reached out to Marvel Comics, said we want to do a cover with you, they're going to say, "Okay, here's your turn."
I can guarantee you they would say
how many Clayton Crane variants has Marvel done since the acetate gate?
Okay, so I'm talking about a retailer doing my point is,
well, that was Black Flag or whatever that publisher was.
I think Epic is a bad example to go to Marvel, and you're going to say that if they get information that they would still do it to cash a check.
They absolutely would. Marvel, DC, Image, IDW. These guys aren't going to say, "I've heard bad
retailers out there too." There's some retailers that don't pay their bills, and I remember that from when Diamond, and I would hear these retailers can't pay their bills and they can't do this, and they have a brick and mortar store, and so
guys, I'm telling you, like there are so many. You gotta remember, guys, I've been at ground zero in the variant industry I've had dozens of people reach out to me. "Hey, you want to share my variant with me? Hey, you want to buy some of my exclusive with me?" And they're literally dudes that some of them don't even have diamond accounts because they just want to, they use someone else's diamond account to get their logo on the book, or they have a diamond account for the sole purpose. They literally work they're literally just out of their garage, and you know what? I don't begrudge those people because I started out of my garage. However, when they just have a diamond account, they contact Marvel, they want to do an exclusive, they get approved, their money's as good as everybody else's in Diamond's eyes. They don't want to ask them, "Do you have a picture of a brick and mortar? Let me see your website. Let me see this."
Not anymore. They used to.
I don't understand why you're shaking your heads no, because I've seen it happen dozens of times, guys.
But I can tell you 100% how many people do not get approved for exclusives. 100%. I can name people up.
I
can't say this 100% that everybody gets approved for exclusive.
Okay, you know what? You're probably right. Not 100% of people get approved. Right. The reason they may not get approved is because they probably have to either pay up front. Marvel changed that.
Right.
You got to pay for the exclusive up front unless you have good terms. If you're brand new and you don't have an established account, they're going to make you pay up front. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't have $9,000 laying around to do that, right? Right. So I'm sure they've maybe gotten a little better at being smart because they don't want to lose money, pay all this money. I've been offered exclusives through Marvel that other retailers have gotten and they weren't able to pay for. Yep, I've gotten the emails from them saying, "Hey, somebody dropped the ball on this cover. Do you want to take it?"
Let me ask you this: a guy can't pay for that cover, drops the ball. He comes to you to do an exclusive with your publishing house. Are you going to do something?
How do I know that, though, bro? Bro, I don't know that. Like,
but you just told me that you were told that.
Well, no, I would not do with that guy. Of course not.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. I understand what you're trying to say. I get it 100%, but I want you to say with transparency that there is both sides to this. That people don't get approved.
Absolutely, yeah. No, you're right. When I'm the bigger point
it trickles down. When Marvel passes up, what Sean's saying is well, as long as their cash is green, I'll work with them. But then what happens when you get screwed over, Shawn?
Well, so I've had plenty of guys that have owed me. I had one guy just made a $5,000 payment to me that he owed me for a year. I've been screwed over before by people, right? I've also had people that have failed in Marvel or DC exclusives, and they come to me because they can't afford a $9,000 project, but they can afford a $2,000 project. So, and some of those guys have taken off to the moon, and they're doing amazing stuff. So, it's the point here, guys, in the big picture is it's very difficult for a publisher to be that judge, jury, executioner. There is no master list that all publishers put out that we all reference to be able to see who the good and bad retailers are. You know what I mean? Like it's very difficult for that. But
Darren,
again,
what do you think about this, Darren? You've been very quiet over there.
It's going to come across bitter. So I have been pretty much not a part of the retailer world of like the comic shop world for probably like 6 or 7 years or whatever it is. I kind of got shunned a little bit. And when we tried getting people to buy our books from anybody other than Diamond, nobody kind of followed us. So now when I come in here and the first words I hear is, "Oh, you're popular yet," or whatever. And it is nice. It is great. And as I said, I am like, when I first learned about ebooks, I was one of the first people to sign on with Comixology. I was probably the first one, because we were working with William Shatner. We had William Shatner Presents, and we were doing books with him. So Comixology signed on, and I embraced that world really easily. I'm always trying to learn and swivel to stay relevant. 24 years in this comic book industry. And so this new retail variant thing is so new to me. And at first I balked at it, and I'm like, I don't even get it. I don't understand how this works, whatever. And then I just started learning a little bit more, and I'm keep learning. And just, as I said, with my mentors like Shawn, and Shawn and I have a business together doing not just Taylor Swift stuff, Metallica stuff. We dropped the Michael Jordan book together. We have so much more planned that we're doing. And there's a reason why he keeps it separate from, Comics Elite and, his other stuff in Merc and all the stuff that he does. People are now starting to see the value, like you do, Dennis, like with the Robert Pattinson thing. And not a lot of people did, and not a lot of people do. And, these books sell really well on Amazon. I can get into Rolling Stone magazine. I can get into CNN, Fox News, but I can't get into Newsarama. And I do 10th Muse. I do all this other stuff. And 5 of my books are fiction,
Well, I'll tell you what, Jesse made a great point. Everybody's made great points tonight, and that's why I love this show. I love doing this show. Darren, I am the farthest thing from an industry guy, right? I'm a guy who is a collector who grew up going to comic shops on Wednesdays, enjoyed it, and then kind of created a YouTube channel years ago and to talk about flipping comics, right? So I am the farthest thing from an industry person. So I play that guy that asks the questions in here. But I also see it from the collector's standpoint rather than the industry standpoint. And from the collector's standpoint, I think Jesse told you from an industry standpoint that you coming on here really helped a lot. But I think from the collector's standpoint and the speculator standpoint out there, the people that are buying these comics and flipping them and or just want to make sure that it holds their value, coming on today was very important for that. I think coming on shows like this will help your brand. Also, talking to people, having people like Shawn, to guide you in this new stuff, having other people to be able to bounce questions. That's so important in this industry, and I think it's cool when this type of thing happens. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Jesse, for all your like all your comments. And I listened to what you're saying, and I'm hearing it. And Dennis, you as well, and Brian, thank you as well too. But I am hearing you guys.
Yeah.
And I'm taking it in and trying to figure this all out. As I said, this is just like ebooks. It's like the new thing, and what to do with it. I signed on with every single ebook company, and half of them are gone, and but I'm still 24 years trying to stay relevant.
Yeah,
so,
in an industry that you love, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I love it.
Before we end the show, you guys, we're gonna let these two guys go. Shawn, I want to say thank you again, man, for coming on. You already know how much I appreciate you. Whether you believe it or not, I know Dennis appreciates you too. Jesse, of course, appreciates you.
I love being on here with Dennis, man. I don't want to talk to people I agree with all the time. That's boring. I want to talk to people with different views,
Amen. And that's why we do this. So
luckily I have a different view from everyone usually.
Yes, you do. That's why you're on here.
I just know I gotta find out where he got that red mic from. That's I'm like, son of a gun, he's promoting right now, self-promoting.
Ladies and gentlemen, Comics Elite just had the Kickstarter that was funded for the Double Impact stuff. Make sure you guys keep an eye on the Double Impact stuff through Shawn.
And Darren, where can we find you?
TidalWaveComics.com on Facebook, Tidalwave Prod, and Tidalwave Publishing Comics.
Tidalwave Comic Publishing.
Yeah, that one too.
Yeah.
Yep, there's stuff there. There's lots of stuff, man. Just the Tidalwave stuff is everywhere. If you're a retailer and you want to do a cover, I encourage you to reach out to Darren.
I'm already following him.
There we go.
Yeah.
Nice.
So actually, can I really quick story? So my first stint into this whole variant thing, we did a Dolly Parton comic book, and I didn't kind of get it at the time. And I had all these retailers, and I literally undersold everything. I did not even get it. I was like charging $2.50 per book because I was just, and then they had to pay for the cover, and I was like, boop, 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 and I was making nothing off of them. So, and I was like super happy. So,
yep. That's good stuff. So,
all right, you're in Dolly World. The Tidalwave stuff is everywhere. I really think this is going to be the next thing. I really do think it is for a while, for a few years, because the good and bad of it is some collectors may not like this, but I love the fact that Darren has a back catalog of how many different comics.
16. You can do a Bruce Lee comic book. You can do a Christopher Reeve comic book.
If you're a fan of something, you can do. I had a guy ask me, "Hey, I want to do a Taylor Swift variant for my daughter's birthday party." It's like, if you can pay for it, you can do it. Give one to all of her friends. I mean, the potential out there, it's crazy. And what's great about it is this is the indie, like Brian said earlier, comics they're evolving and changing before our eyes. So,
you gotta learn how to pivot.
Indie publishers, we're literally only limited by our imagination and by our ethics and morals, right? So what you think you should do, what you feel is enough, is this too many, is this cool? And ultimately what dictates, the market will dictate. Just like if I don't like art books and people buy them all the time, then I'm going to die on a hill screaming about how terrible they are where these guys are making a ton of money. So I'm the old guy.
Industry, inventory and integrity. Those are the two important things in the comic book world. So, and that's why we do what we do. So, all right, you guys, Shawn, I'll be in touch. Darren, I would love to have you on the channel more. So you got an open seat if you ever want to come on and talk about anything beyond Wednesdays. Let us know. So appreciate you guys.
50s.
Thanks, guys. Much love, you guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, so that.
Wow, that was excellent, man. That was a good show. This show tonight, you guys, was I mean, talk about the amount of stuff that we talked about but this is becoming the norm from the industry show, right?
So here's the thing. I had no idea, and like Darren said, the industry left Darren 7 years ago, but that was when the industry was dominated by Diamond. And it sounds like he and Diamond had a falling out, which is very common if you've watched this show. I think that'd be the third publisher that said Diamond helped kill their comic shop footprints at some point and force them to the online field. There's something to be said about what is missing from comic book stores right now because Darren is no longer in it for comic book stores. And then, and don't take this the wrong way when Shawn watches this or is watching it right now. What I think, and I don't want to say this, but when we talk about levels, you talk about the comic shop level, and then you talk about Comics Elite is like a sub-distribution level. It's not the Diamond Publishing model. It's a totally new model. And for a guy like Darren to look at that and go, holy shit, this is a way I can sell comic books again? Excellent. Do whatever you want, Shawn. And like we were saying, at a certain point, it is rehashing, and it almost becomes kind of what Shawn was complaining about through James, which was, well, you're just putting art on the cover. You're just doing it. It's just like, I just don't think sometimes Shawn realizes.
I think he realized with this one. I think you didn't realize at some point in the show that he wasn't putting out. I mean, you at some point, and I'm not taking a dig at you, but at some point you thought, hey, these are just reprinting the same books.
But I thought it was this big of a problem. But then even when he said, well, we did that in December. Okay, but you are still re-releasing these covers for the last 6 months.
I think the only thing that they might want to do, that Darren might want to do, is if they are releasing an old book that they put out 10 years ago, he might want to put volume or second printing on it.
And that's really what I was saying. And then, but even when I just said that, when we had that whole argument about re-releasing Taylor Swift, Shawn immediately jumps in and goes, well, I took the Metallica book from 10 years ago and slapped 5 covers on it and released it, and I did have great success. That's really what we're saying. That's not a volume 2. That's volume 1 from 10 years ago, just being rehashed.
Well, it's kind of like what they did in comics.
And then Darren filled in. Well, it had 2 new pages or something.
Which is what Marvel and DC have done for years. They do an annual. It's got a couple new pages. They throw a reprint. Director's cut, which is okay. Mm-hmm. That's part of comics. That has been part of comics. You just So again, this model is changing, and that's why we do this show, to try and keep up with the changing, to help other people out there that might see things.
But where I saw the silver lining in all of this is Darren still has an amazing product. Right now, I think it's being held down by being at that sub-distribution level. I almost think that there's a publishing idea still there that I would totally branch into my record store and anime store. There's a total idea there that I would branch into my retro comic book store. And to me, that's what's missing from that business model right now is you might not have to go through Diamond, but Jesse and I both would love to take a crack at that. However,
you would only do it if he's going through a distribution company?
Well, no. But I would have to have some kind of reassurances that if I'm buying into, a full flight of all these books, that I'm not going to have a sub distributor torpedo my book.
Take it back. Yeah, my concern is this. This is my concern. I go do an Iron Maiden book. I pull it from the past, right? And I'm very successful on it. And based on the what's the singer's name? I already forgot the singer's name. Taylor Swift. Based on the
how do you forget Taylor Swift?
If it's not Iron Maiden, I don't know what it is, man. It's Iron Maiden or on something on ESPN. That's my world. So my concern would be, like, when I'll give you a prime example. When I did Rick and Morty 8 through 16, I did a deal where no one else could do those exclusives during that time. That was my deal because no one was doing Rick and Morty exclusives, right? And so if I do Iron Maiden, or let's say I come out and I say I want to do Metallica. Now I wouldn't do that because I kind of have this integrity of brand and I wouldn't want to step on Shawn's toes. But not everybody has that, right?
No, you're right.
So my concern would be, what kind of deal could I do with Tidalwave to say, listen, I want to do Iron Maiden, and no one else technically can do that because it will tarnish what I'm trying to achieve with value for my brand.
Yeah.
So that's something. And again, I've already been talking to Darren for a week, and we'll have a conversation tomorrow. But I like the fact that it came on a live show, knowing there's heat, and had this very comfortable.
He was great. Yeah.
Idea.
Oh, no, Darren was cool as a cucumber.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think it was a very, very good thing. Shawn's things are valid because I understand what he's talking about with his brand, his company as a publisher. And everybody has a different way of teaming up with people.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, guys, I got an eBay show that is 15 minutes late. It's on eBay Live. I will be at Just James Comics. I will be slinging 110 items tonight. So we'll be rocking there. And so that's kind of my input of the show.
Awesome.
Yep.
So what do we got coming up, you guys? Tomorrow night, the Wednesday night review show. Come hang out for a market report segment, and we'll also be going over new comic book issues. And we might be talking about a couple of the new titles. I want to suggest everybody go out there and buy the Doom issue, the Dr. Doom issue that came out. It's called Doom.
I got to send you a picture of this. One of my buddies, Jamie Colgrove from Pack Rat Comics, sent me a picture of. I accidentally over-ordered this book, and it was the Doom variant everybody is paying $50 a piece for. Yeah. And it was just one of those accidents where he just scored the book of the week.
Well, I'm going to say this right now. I think this Doom book is probably book of the year right now for what's inside of it. It is one of the best stories I've read in years. And that's why I say go buy it. Go buy an A copy. Go read it online. Do whatever you have to do to read it because it'll excite you and it'll bring you back into comics maybe for what's coming next. So shout out to Jonathan Hickman, Sanford Green for that great story. Shout out to Marvel. Keep it up. They've been doing good stuff with Blood Hunt so far. I hope X-Men, they care as much about X-Men as they do this Doom book. So we'll see. And you guys, we have some big guests coming. Who do we have coming up, guys? Wait, you're muted, Jesse.
You're muted, Jesse.
Oh, yeah.
Are texting me about the show right now. So so next Thursday, we know we have Nick Barucci. That's a guarantee. We do have a president of a major company. I'm waiting for him to get back to me at 100%, but he has scheduled this out. And then going into June, the first 2 weeks, we have so many awesome people for the show. It is ridiculous. So once we get these I like double confirmations in the comic book industry. We're probably the only industry that needs double confirmations on everything. So we have a lot of great guests. Dennis is working on a whole bunch of people as well. But we're going to rock it out, and we're going to continue to have shows that are industry cultured and traditional guests from the industry coming on that sometimes doesn't even make sense to me, Dennis, or Brian, but if they're in the industry, we're then bring them in. So.
Amen. Thanks, you guys.
And with Darren, it was like, oh, hey, it's the Blue Water guy. It's the Tidalwave guy. Oh wait, he's also this guy, the PlayStation Magazine guy, and he's also
that's what we
this,
love.
and he was also a kid at the freaking Muppet Show filming,
and you can tell his love for comic books, which is even better.
Absolutely. So
much love, you guys. We'll see you next time. Make sure to sub up, hit that like button, drop a comment. Adios.